Hello, folks, and welcome to part two of our local elections coverage. I've gone off for a little sleep. Some more results have come in, and we're back at it and ready to do it all over again. And this time with some guests.
Hello.
Hello. Anyway, we have James Fielding and dear old Gerard here, and we've got some peculiar Northern Ireland results that have come in.
Cheers, son's crying.
It's I've not been following the Northern Ireland results as I don't live in Northern Ireland, but it doesn't look like a good night for the two main parties over in Northern Ireland, which is quite symbolic as it also in the UK, in England, and the two main parties are getting hammered as well. So
I should at least say what everybody's on right now. I keep in mind it's early days. There's only about 60 seats filled out of like 400, but DUP on 19, Alliance on 14, Sinn Féin on 9, SDLP on 7, UP on 6, Independents on 5, Greens on 1. I think that's it.
Yeah, I'm just screen sharing this with people now as well. So so give me a rundown. I think when I had a brief look at the Northern Ireland, like the status quo there, I think it was basically Sinn Féin and DUP.
Yeah.
So what exactly has the movement been here?
I think it's a protest vote.
Protest vote against the two. Well, what are now the two main parties in Northern Ireland, DUP and Sinn Féin? Then
we're really not doing anything the past 3 years. I think it's been.
Oh, of course, yeah, because there's been the massive deadlock.
Yeah, we haven't had a local election since before the assembly collapsed.
Oh, well, in that case, this much may have been expected right. Then to a certain degree.
Back in the old Irish streams, I did say, if people are willing to go back, I did say at the time that people seem to be moving away from the big two. It's just I got the party that they would go to wrong. I said they would go to SDP and UP. No, it turns out they went to Alliance. But at the end of the day, this just shows people are moving away from the big two.
Well, this is the live return of Across the Irish Sea on the biggest platform of them all, the local election WrestleMania.
Well, I guess the same thing's happening over in England as well. As shown by tonight's results over in England, both two main parties have suffered really badly. The Conservatives have suffered quite badly in Tory shire seats. Labour are suffering in seats where they are supposed to be gaining if they have got any chance of winning a general election. So both two main parties over here shouldn't be too impressed with their results from last night and currently this afternoon anyway.
Yeah, I'm just taking a peek at them again because I haven't really seen them since I went to bed yesterday. Well, earlier this morning. Don't ask me, my body clock's way off whack at the moment. But yeah, it seems that Labour haven't lost a great deal more councillors than they had when I went to bed. But interestingly, we've had so many more results in now, and they haven't exactly made up any ground. If anything, they've continued to sink further. So I think we've at least now got the pattern established, which I think is going to continue through the rest of the results, that ultimately Labour are going to come out of this with losses. Nowhere near the degree to which the Tories have, but nonetheless, not a good result for them. I think...
I'd also just like to remind what John McDonnell said on Wednesday, before the results. He was expecting the Labour Party to gain up to 400 seats, and they're losing seats. So it just goes to show that even the freaking Shadow Chancellor can get his numbers wrong.
And what's curious about this as well is I think before the local elections, there was an element of managing expectation. I remember it was being said, the Tories might lose 1,000 seats. And some people said, that's a bit too much. And then others said, sort of some Labour folk said, this is how it's going to be. That they're going to say the Tories will lose 1,000 seats. And then the Tories will only lose 600 or 700 seats. And then by contrast, the Labour gains won't be deemed as good. But we're not even in that territory. Funnily enough, I think that where we are at this point, I think the Tories are easily on track to lose 1,000 seats. They've already lost 759.
Yeah, they are looking like they will. But yes, it's mainly going to the Liberal Democrats, the Greens, and the independents, the local independents
Can
around
we
the country.
let's talk about these guys for a moment then? So the Lib Dems, they've put on about 50% of the councillors they already had, gained 9 councils, a pretty damn impressive result for them. The Greens, what's quite phenomenal here is to think that now they've got 140 councillors, whereas previously, if these areas contested, they had 28. They've gone from 28 to 140 and counting.
It's been a good night for the Greens and the Liberals, both two pro-Remain parties. I don't think that's had. I think people are maybe looking into it too much on a Brexit sort of standpoint. Or look at the Lib Dems. Aren't they opposing Brexit? That must mean that the country now backs Remain. What I would say is be careful what you wish for, because the Brexit backlash is probably going to come in about 3 weeks' time when it comes to
hashtag Brexit betrayal.
Yeah.
Say the hidden message from these elections is a hidden Brexit backlash. Now, but look at Labour. And look where Labour lost. Look at how who they lost the votes to. And in a lot of cases, losing persons to the Conservatives, just as Bolsover. Now, Labour, potentially, this could be actually a Leave backlash.
Yeah, basically, Leave voters are either going to the Conservatives or just going to Independents. And even in some cases, Leave voters are going to the Liberal Democrats. And people might think, oh, well, why would they do that? Because in some areas...
Local issues.
Yeah, local issues. Also, in some areas that there isn't a UKIP candidate, there isn't a pro-Brexit candidate. So they don't want to vote for the Conservatives or the Labour Party. So the Lib Dems, yes, they are pro-Remain, but they are the protest. They are the protest vote in some areas.
You know, I had that just quickly. I had that anecdotally in the stream last night. There are at least a couple of Leave kippers who were there who said, "Oh, I voted Lib Dem this time round to fuck the main parties," and I was quite astounded when I heard that. I thought it just doesn't compute to me. Voting for the polar opposite of your view as a protest vote, but
UKIP appeared to have done a lot better than people were expecting them. Like everyone was saying, oh, they'll lose every council seat. They've got nearly 20.
Yeah, they've lost about 80% of them. But yeah.
Go on, Cam.
Also, what I find interesting about the Liberal Democrats is that I know some Leavers who voted for them, not on the basis is that the policy in Brexit because of local issues and the anger at Corbyn. So they put the votes for them just to as a protest vote, and I think that person lived in a ward in Barnsley that sung the Democrat. So there might be quite a few people doing that, and John Curtis actually said this that the Democrat surge is not necessarily a Remain one.
Well, I would agree. I think people who are saying this is like a Remain resurgence may just need to be a bit careful, because in about 2 weeks' time we'll be having the European elections where it's looking likely that the Brexit parties will do better.
I think honestly at this point it would be fair to say that the Brexit party will win the European elections, and not by a small margin but by like double digits in terms of seat and vote share.
Oh my god, someone was saying that 3 weeks ago. Who was it?
It was Daddy Swiss.
Yes.
Well, at the time, we didn't really have that much evidence for it, and polls can be very, very wrong. But election results, you can't really dispute them. And these election results, well, they speak for themselves.
Yeah.
I'm going to pop over to the side chat quickly and just see what the dear old viewers are saying. Oh, crikey, we've got 25 people in already. Right, what are people saying? So Apollo TD says, told you before we went off air, Tories' real chance of losing 1,000 seats seems really possible now. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Apollo, thoughts on Stockport Council election, James? My ward flipped from Tory to Lib Dem. What's the deal with this?
Yes, well, Stockport was a three-way sort of seat. It's also a Remain seat as well, a Remain council. It voted Remain in the EU elections. Lib Dems did the best in Stockport and are now either the largest party or the joint with Labour. So it's been a good night for them. The Tories have had quite a few losses. The Labour Party have, I think they've held on to most of their seats in Stockport, but it's just because of the Lib Dems resurgence that they are now probably in second place.
I wonder what's your opinion? What's your reaction to the Stoke council result? Swiss.
Oh, to the Stoke Council result. I've only just seen that myself in the last little while. So basically, the Tories have made some gains. It looks almost certain now that it's going to be another Tory independent coalition government for Stoke Council. Yeah, it's completely against. It's against my It was against what my expectations were initially, because obviously we thought Labour were going to do a fair bit better than they've done, and if they were going to do by any measure rather well, then Stoke Council would have been one of the councils they would have taken, because they only would have needed to have flipped a couple of seats. I at least feel comfortable in knowing that. Oh, you know what? I ought to check, actually, shouldn't I? I should. You know how I kept banging on about how my ward was going to be safe Labour. I need to work out whether or not I should feel guilty about drawing a cock on my ballot paper, because if my ward has flipped blue, then I'm in trouble.
Oh dear! Imagine if you let in the Tories.
I'm gonna have a look.
Basically a Tory. Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of drawing on ballots and drawing massive cocks on ballots, there has been a lot of spoilt ballots in this local elections.
There's been, in a lot of councils, there's been a record number of spoilt ballots, and in places like Ipswich, for example, the count was delayed due to all the spoilt ballots that they had.
They had to sift through that many cocks on paper.
No, what they've had to sift through is a lot of people have gotten their ballot and written Brexit Party, Brexit, Nigel Farage, or a variety of other pro-Brexit messages on their ballot. Unfortunately, what has happened in this election is what I sadly and hoped hadn't come true but predicted. This has become yet another election which is effectively a rerun of the EU referendum, where people are not voting on local issues, broadly speaking. Some councils and some people are, but broadly speaking, people are not voting based on those issues, and instead are voting for independents and Lib Dems and protest vote candidates, simply because they have an axe to grind with Labour and Tories on Brexit.
Just a bit of breaking news. They've done a projected national share on the BBC, and it has the Conservatives on 28, Labour on 28, the Liberal Democrats on 19, and the others on 25. So basically, I think that, because remember, this is compared to 2015, I think that means that the Labour Party have held steady throughout the country. But obviously the Conservatives have dropped by about 6 points and the Liberals have gained by about 6 points.
Can I? By the way, is that in contrast to 2015, or is this the projected vote share where it estimates what it's like if it was countrywide?
Yeah. So basically, how a projected national share works is if they extrapolate all the results from what they've been given up to now, and use it if there was a general election and every seat was being contested. The only problem with a projected national share is it every time always overestimates the Liberal Democrats. Now, yes, the Liberal Democrats have had a good night tonight, but if there was a general election tomorrow, they wouldn't get 19%. They'd probably get half of it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So it always overestimates the third party, such as the Greens, Liberal Democrats, UKIP, potentially the Brexit Party, sort of thing. So But yeah, it does show that the Conservatives are losing votes to the Liberals, which is not a good sign.
Just quickly, what I'm screen sharing here, I can confirm that my ward in Stoke went Labour by over double the number of votes for the other candidates. So
was that an increase or a decrease in total vote share?
Oh crikey, I'll have to, off the top of my head, it might be a slight decrease, but I'll have a quick look, see if we can compare it.
Right.
Yes. It's not been a good night for two of the main parties anyway. So compared to 2018, the BBC national projection, it's the Conservatives are down 7, the Labour Party are down 7, and the Liberal Democrats are up 3. And the others are on 25. So both main parties are losing about the same. So,
Okay, apparently the one Fianna Fáil candidate has lost her seat.
oh dear.
Dale Pankhurst has got re-elected, the absolute bastard.
No matter how you good, how are you feeling about the alliance surge?
Oh, it's not a good night to be a nationalist Labour member. It's not a good night.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've got the double whammy. Basically, every party that you could have possibly backed has done poorly, and the parties that you didn't want to win have done well.
But
Right now it's DUP 20, Alliance 14, Sinn Féin 9, SDLP 7, UP 6, Independents 5, and Greens 1.
It's there is a real possibility that it could be Alliance and DUP as the two largest.
Right now, also SDLP can overtake Sinn Féin, which, fuck me. If all this happens, I'm gonna be fucking laughing.
But by the looks of it from my ward, I'd say that the overall Labour vote share largely doesn't seem to be that different. It may have dropped by a few points, but the turnout is much lower. The total number of votes cast this time round compared to 2015 is much reduced.
Yeah, there seems to be a general trend across the whole country, apart from Northern Ireland. All across England, it appears that turnout has massively decreased.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's down massively. I think it's only down by a couple of percent, which is...
No, I don't think that'll be the case. I think once we get the full results, we'll see a turnout drop of about 5%, I reckon. I could be wrong, but it's the general feeling I get. Like in Basildon, for example, when we had a handful of wards that declared, we had turnout of around 22%, which was down quite a lot from last time.
Not good.
No, it's not good. So, generally speaking, what's happening is the protest vote parties are doing well and the main parties are doing badly. Which is why in Hartlepool we had a loss of Labour to Full Britain and Democrats and Veterans. Same thing happened in Barnsley as well.
Yes, we have had some far-right parties gain seats, and there's another one. The For Britain are beating the Conservatives into second place in a couple of seats in Cheshire, which is
So yeah, that's it. You have Rams pleasantly surprised with Pendle's result because it apparently it's only a Labour loss to the Lib Dems, and that's about it. I'm pleasantly surprised with that result.
So I'm just going to pop back to the side chat to say hello to the people. Charlie Simmons is back. Hopefully, I'll be here the whole time this time. Hopefully, yeah. I think my plan for this particular stream is I'm I'm just we're just gonna use it essentially as like our a hangout. People can pop in and go as they please, but I'll just leave it going for basically the full duration as we continue watching all these results come in. Charlie Simmons says the Yorkshire Party has got its first councillors. The Liberals have 4 councillors. People are voting on the basis of Brexit, says Patty White. Politics is the art of self-delusion, says Jimbo Jones. Reaction King says Brexit Party may get 40% in the Euros. They have gained in every poll so far. They are standing at around 30 to 35%. See, go on, you first if you want.
I was going to say, I don't think that will happen. I think that the Brexit Party, the max they'll get is 35% in polling. But Labour, on the other hand, I think now, especially after what's happened, I think it will be, if I had to do a vote share prediction, this is what it would be. Brexit Party, 35%, Labour, 20%, Tories, 13%, Lib Dems, 10%, Greens, roughly 10% as well, UKIP, 5%, and the rest get the other vote shares.
Yeah, the trends continued in the polls we've had thus far. If we want to like draw a little line or something, well, hang on a minute. We're gonna do this really with great technicality here. In good old Microsoft Paint.
You can always rely upon Microsoft Paint if all else fails.
Oh, indeed. So I'm just gonna really, really approximately go like that, and we'll do. Oh shit! No.
Yeah, the projected voter turnout for NI, I think, is around 55%.
Which is incredible for a local.
In some areas like Derry, it's 60.
Yeah, just to put that in perspective, in some areas, that's lower than what you get. I mean, that's higher than what you get in a general election.
Yeah.
You're seeing a situation where more people are turning out for the locals in NI than they do in the general.
Right, if this is what a local thing is like, to where Alliance are coming second, I fear what an assembly election would look like.
So will it be a coalition between the DUP and the Alliance then?
No, because legally it has to be at least one nationalist, one unionist. I think others can join in as well, but there always has to be at least those two.
Yeah, and also in addition to that, Alliance, even though they don't consider themselves nationalist or unionist, they tend to be more inclined to vote with nationalists than they do unionists.
Yeah. Alright, well, I'm gonna go take a shower, come back and see what the results are then, so I'll see you.
No worries, catch you in a bit. In the chat here, so Team Twisted, has given us the projected national vote share. As I think we read it out already, but Conservatives 28 down 7, Labour 28 down 7, Lib Dems 19 plus 3, others 25. Channel Fadge Art and Vlogs asks us, in your opinions, what do you think these results mean for UKIP? I think that probably the only thing I can read into these results for UKIP is that despite the fact that by and large they've been replaced now as the main Brexit party by the Brexit Party, they still continue to have a certain base, have a certain set of voters. Obviously, we don't have like a Brexit Party to compare them to in this set of elections, but I think largely speaking, even in the EU elections, I still expect that they'll get a few percentage points vote of the share. So I think what can we take away about UKIP with all this? Well, they're no longer the main Eurosceptic party, but they do still exist in some form. They haven't been completely wiped off the radar.
Yeah, I mean, that's broadly what I would say as well. I would say that in terms of what this means for UKIP as well, I think the reason why they've done as well as they have, well, I say that they've done badly, but keep in mind that people were expecting UKIP to lose all of their seats, or lose like 95% of their seats. I didn't think that would happen simply because the Brexit Party was not standing candidates in the locals, and so there would be a lot of people who would vote UKIP as a pro-Brexit protest vote. And that's broadly speaking what's happened in certain areas of the country, such as Sunderland, Derby, areas like that. So that's why I think they've done better than anyone was expecting them to do.
I think it's interesting that there's been a backlash against Labour and the Tories, but it hasn't been uniform across the country. It's quite regionalised in terms of who's moving forwards and who's moving backwards.
Yeah.
Yes, the Conservatives are doing better in the north and doing utterly shite in the south. And Labour are doing marginally okay in the south and relatively poor in the north.
Yeah, that's generally what's happening. And in the Midlands, both parties are doing poorly and losing seats to independents and Lib Dems. And Greens as well, actually, for that matter.
Mm.
I'm just taking another look at the. I'll screen share it again. The results as we've got them so far, because every time I refresh the page, we're getting another couple tick in at the moment. We're still only 171 councils out of 248. We've still got a decent chunk left to go here. All right then, guys. What I want to know is, what are your predictions for the end? Once we have all the results in, where exactly, approximately, do you expect the parties are going to be?
I reckon the Tories will lose 1,000 seats. I reckon Labour will probably lose 50, perhaps round about that number. Lib Dems will be on about 500. Independents on about 300, 400. The UKIP on about 25, and it just goes on from there, really. The only result that I'm absolutely certain about is the Tories are going to lose 1,000 seats.
Yeah, I mean, we seem to be hurtling towards that at some speeds right now.
Which, to put that in perspective, that's their worst local election result since 1995.
Because I think essentially what that does, when these were up for grabs in 2015, how many did the Tories gain? Was it like 500 odd?
Yeah.
So this result is basically going to wipe out the progress they made in 2015 and set them back to where they were in 2011.
Yeah, basically wipe out all progress made in 2015 and then double that in terms of overall loss.
It's not a good night for the Conservatives at all.
No,
They are losing a lot of seats in very safe Conservative areas. Like, there are like seats in Surrey, seats in Basildon, even Jacob Rees-Mogg's seat. The council flipped to the Lib Dems.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't Jacob Rees-Mogg's seat flip to the Lib Dems?
Yeah, it's not a good night for them at all. What I would say is to put a good spin on for Labour, is that the Conservatives have done absolutely terrible tonight, and this is without the Brexit Party. This is without another right-wing party coming into the forte. And I fear that when it comes to a European election or the council elections next year, that the Conservatives could lose the same amount of seats again. Because at the moment it seems that Conservative voters are staying at home with the low turnout, and if they are coming out to vote, they're voting for the Liberal Democrats or the local independents. So, and if you give a Brexit party a stand in local elections, Conservatives will turn out and vote against them and vote for the Brexit party. Because at the moment they are disappointed within the leadership. There was even today, Theresa May was heckled at a Welsh conference, a Welsh Conservative conference, by a Welsh Conservative member, saying that she should just resign. So it's not a good day for the Prime Minister.
What's your view? Because I know that previously when we speak about Theresa May, quite often you say you don't feel that she should go. Has your view changed on that at all recently?
I think that again, the reason why people want her to leave is basically to get a Brexiteer Prime Minister.
WTO
You-
Brexit now.
Yeah, and the thing is you can get rid of the Prime Minister, but the parliamentary numbers remain the same. You could have freaking, I don't know, Mark Francois, and he would still have to present a withdrawal agreement to the House, and it still have to be passed. And
I
it's
think
shown that,
the-
and it's shown that Parliament would block no deal. So there has to be some sort of deal passed in the House. So to me, it doesn't really matter at this stage who the leader is. The Conservatives are always going to do badly.
I think that the argument that would be made by Brexiteer sort of like Tory members would be that if we get rid of May, we can get a hard Brexiter like Boris or Steve Baker in. We can go to Brussels, get a Canada deal, and then we can pass it through the House of Commons, because their argument is, well, all the ERG will be on our side, so we've got a far better chance of passing it.
I suspect that what James said about the parliamentary arithmetic is obviously true. Nothing will change in that sense, even if the leader changes. But perhaps
I agree. I agree. The parliamentary arithmetic will mean that we'll have the same result. Nothing will get passed. But Brexiteers will say we have a better chance of getting a deal passed than if we have a Remainer Prime Minister.
Well, and I think that in terms of the Tories winning back Brexiteer support, even if they're still in the logjam in Parliament of not being able to deliver the thing, if they've actually got people at the helm who are pushing harder to do Brexit by any means necessary, I suspect that will filter through to the Leave voters a little bit more. Because I think at the moment the Leave voter mindset with the Tories is, they're not doing Brexit. The Prime Minister's a Remainer. It was always going to be watered down. They never really wanted to do it anyway, blah, blah, blah. But if they have one of, quote, their guys at the top of the party.
Yeah, but you say that, Swiss, but even if the Brexiteers come back to the forte, the Conservatives will still lose voters to the Liberal Democrats, as shown tonight. The problem is at the moment, the country views the Conservative parties not pro-Brexit and not pro-Remain. And it views the Labour Party as that as well.
Yeah.
It views them both as not pro-Brexit, not pro-Remain, and it's sat in the middle trying to please both sides. And
I think that the Tory party is a bit of a dead duck at the moment. And
Yeah.
the Labour Party's suffering, but the thing is that the Tories standing next to them, it's like the Tories have just blown both of their legs off with a shotgun, whereas Labour have just lost a few fingers. So it's not a great time for Labour, but standing next to the Tories, it's like, fucking hell, you got through this pretty well.
Basically, if you were to use the gun analogy, the comparison is, to give it similar to yours, the Tories have shot themselves in the chest with a shotgun twice, whereas Labour have just shot their hand and lost a couple of fingers.
Have they been giving themselves the bullet? Is this where we finally arrived at?
Well, I mean, I would argue yes, and this is where I think I will differ from some Labour members. I think this needs to be a wake-up call for Labour, and I think that we need to abandon the second referendum. We have lost major ground in our heartlands, and we're not making up for it in the South and the Midlands, as people have said, we'd make up for it in the South and the Midlands if we back the second referendum. Well, we're not.
And this was something that quite a few Labour leavers had warned about, wasn't it?
Well, yes, and I didn't really believe it at first. I did buy into that narrative, we'll make it up in the South and the Midlands. But these local election results have shown that we're not doing that. We aren't making up the difference in the South and the Midlands. And I know that we haven't fully backed the second referendum, but if this is what it's like and we haven't backed the second referendum, then it'll just be like this, but even worse. You could see a situation where Labour just flat out loses overall control of Sunderland as a result of backing a second referendum. And I know that Sunderland was a bit different in these local elections because there were lots of scandals surrounding the Labour Council because it was corrupt and there were people that were caught up in child sex abuse scandals and really awful things like that. But broadly speaking, when you go to places like Bolton, Burnley, Hartlepool, Barnsley, and so on and so forth, Ashfield, areas that heavily voted to leave in the EU referendum, they're moving away from Labour and moving towards independence. Most of these independents, or at least a lot of these independents, are pro-Brexit. So this is the problem that I think Labour has, and why I think Labour needs to abandon a second referendum and advocate for a soft Brexit. We're losing major ground in our heartland and not making up for it in the south. So I don't really see the benefit of a second referendum.
Well, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but the second referendum was one of the big turn-offs for me with Labour. That policy, it's not entirely down to me leaving the fold, but most certainly it kind of symbolises where Labour's at on Brexit and where I don't approve of. Right, as things stand at the moment, there's still a fair chance that I may well vote Labour in a general election. But had, for example, at that NEC meeting the other day, they decided, right, you know what, we're going to unequivocally back a second EU referendum in all circumstances. That would have been me done.
Yeah, I mean, I've in terms of who I'm voting for in the Euros, I've changed my mind. I'm going to be voting with Mr. Hickman for the Yorkshire Party, and also in the East Midlands, I've found out that there's a group of candidates, and no, this isn't affiliated. Is not affiliated to the Cooks, called the Independent Network, which seems to be regionalist, a group of regionalist independents who seem to be moderately pro-Brexit. So if you don't want to vote for any right-wing Brexiteer, if you're in Yorkshire or the East Midlands, you have something to vote for.
Well, yes, and I do expect the Brexit parties to do quite well in a few weeks' time. There's another result just come in that the Conservatives have lost control of Surrey Heath. And now the Conservatives were down 13 seats, Liberals up at 8, Greens up 2, and the Independents up 2. So yeah, not a good night in the Tory Shire places.
I mean, Surrey, I think, since the Second World War has only elected Tory MPs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see them not electing Tory MPs. It's just that.
If you want a general idea of what Surrey is like, Surrey to the Tories is what Liverpool is to Labour. That's a good description of what Surrey is like. Like, it's Tory through and through. It is ultra Tory.
We have the numbers from. I don't know if you want to say it. No, we don't. We don't have the numbers yet from Angels' count. We know that he's. I
meant to ask about that. So, Daddy
Angels'
Clark.
dad won.
Yes, Mr. Brian Clark, Angels' father, did win his seat. So.
All right, and he's just one of many of these of all these independents getting elected in this election.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the independent surge at the moment.
Well, it's the independent surge, but in reality, it's the anybody but Labour and Tory surge.
I'm glad I didn't vote independent in the locals. Not that it would have made any difference to the result in my ward, but knowing now that the independents are going to go into another coalition with the Tories, it would have left a bad taste in my mouth.
How do you judge the local area or the local council? Because obviously it's not really changed that much, really, apart from a couple more Conservatives.
What, in terms of how I think the council's going to do, or?
No, how do you judge like the council itself? Like, obviously, it's the same council pretty much. How do you judge them? Do you judge them with? I'm guessing no one has any popular opinions on any council, to be fair.
Well, the thing is that I've only lived in Stoke for a couple of years. Some of the most obvious things to me that stand out about my area, at least, that need addressing are the fly tipping in the alleyways, overall cleanliness. There's a bit of a mouse rat problem occasionally as well, and the other concern is crime. That you do get people getting mugged or stabbed or whatever else. I hear about it happening, on average, like maybe once a month, maybe more frequently, sometimes within a mile radius of where I live. So
what you're saying is Stoke is a rat-infested, crime-ridden slum.
Shelton within Stoke has many of those characteristics.
It sounds like you get the rats back under the floorboards.
But yeah, so basically, if I were to try and evaluate how the Stoke Council has done overall, I can really only apply it to my specific area. But as I see it, these were the issues that were the case when I arrived here, and at present they still appear to be the same issues. So at the very least, it doesn't appear that much has been done in the last 2 years to improve things.
If we're talking about individual wards and councils, basically, for myself, I'm pissed off. I'm really annoyed at the result of mine. The Lib Dems surged largely at the expense of the Tories because they didn't actually gain that many more votes. They gained about 200 more votes than last time, but the Labour vote completely collapsed. Labour went from nearly 800 votes to 470 votes. They did really badly in my ward. The Tories, in fact, so much so that Labour went from 3rd place to 4th place behind UKIP, and the Tories also lost loads of votes to UKIP. So the majority for the Lib Dem in my ward has gone from around about 200 votes to 800 votes as a result of the UKIP surge and Labour's overall poor performance.
Crikey.
What
As
about
for Portsmouth as a whole?
Oh, I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah, as for Portsmouth as a whole, the Tories lost 3 seats, the Lib Dems gained 2, and Labour gained 1. What will the result of that be? Probably another Labour Liberal coalition. Well, Liberal government with a supply and confidence agreement from the Lib Dems. A Lib Dem administration with supply and confidence from Labour. As for what the interesting thing about the Labour gain is, I actually know the person who gained that ward because he's my university lecturer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember going over this result with Tom last night. And he was like, "Is that my university lecturer?" I was like, "Well, I don't know." And then obviously we found a picture of him, and it was.
Did you not have a similar moment where someone in the side chat recognised you at a football game, James?
Yes. Who was it now? Someone was like, "Oh, I saw you with in your wearing your yellow jacket." I was like, "Oh, I must be famous." What can I say?
Did they see you doing the Nazi salute?
Let's not go there, Swiss.
Yeah, if you were wearing a yellow jacket, did you throw a Molotov cocktail at a car by any chance?
Did you take any traffic cones with you?
I did not take any traffic cones with me, and I did not do the Nazi salute intentionally. Before anybody,
you were just reaching for the ball. Someone had kicked the ball into the crowd, and you're just reaching for it to try and catch it.
So, wait. It's Swiss was reaching for the single ball.
Speaking of which, that actually reminds me, does anybody remember the UKIP councillor that was kicked out of the party because he did a Nazi salute? And his excuse was, "Oh, I was reaching for a potted plant."
Was it? I thought it was the camera. Was it a potted plant? Yeah, I have remembered that slightly.
It was camera or potted plant. It was a ridiculous excuse for what it was. So yeah, to go back to my sort of council, what it will be for the next year is the Lib Dems will do nothing for the city. All the investment will go to Central Southsea, as per usual. And And people will still vote for the Lib Dems, even though they do things such as increase traffic charges and traffic permit charges in Southsea, but still vote for them anyway, because, of course, don't do anything about the homeless issue. Instead, are more intent on building student flats because we got to get that student investment and money here, while local business and local area as a whole is left to rot. Because most of the shops in this city are either run-down corner shops and off licenses or takeaways, and they
sounds like where I live.
Yeah,
actually.
And the Lib Dems have done nothing to regenerate the local area or the high street at all. And when people have challenged them on this, they go, "Oh well, local government doesn't give us enough money, so we're not going to try and do anything." That's always been their excuse. It's the same excuse that Sadiq Khan has, really. And I know that councils have been funding for them has been cut to the bone, but at the end of the day, you should at least try and improve the local area rather than sit there, do nothing, and blame all your failings on national governments. But, I mean, Portsmouth will just continue voting for them because that's just what we do here.
Can I welcome Nazbol to the chat?
Oh, hello, Nazbol.
Hello. Oh, hello. We have a new body. I must say, Swiss, can I just compliment you on your fantastic T-shirt?
Oh, thank you very much.
It's not a T-shirt, but it is. It does get a solid 9 out of 10 for me.
It's a fucking collage of my childhood memories. That's what it is.
So is this? So is this a new chapter of Swiss? Is this a new version of Swiss?
I think so.
With your haircut,
you guys can christen him with a name if you want.
Yeah. So what is this? It's the hair is not long enough to be to be the previous Swiss. It's not short enough to be EDL Swiss.
I've been internally. I've been referring to this phase as Brexit Swiss.
Before you go back to being EDL Swiss.
Well, that's what people. This is the one thing I don't understand, right? I can understand when I had a skinhead, people looking at it and going, "Oh yeah, EDL Swiss," because I had a skinhead, and skinheads do things like join the EDL. I can understand that much, but I'm not a skinhead at the moment. I've got hair, and as it grows, it's only going to get longer. So this association with the EDL this time round, I think, is complete. It's filthy smear merchants.
So you're not EDL Swiss. You're somewhere moderate. So you're Brexit Party Swiss.
But yeah, or just Brexit Swiss.
Farage Swiss.
Not as a freaking far EDL as a skinhead, but not as long hair as a hippie Green Party member. So you're somewhere in the middle. So you're
no, I'm not one of those crock-wearing muesli eaters, am I now?
Oh dear.
I think, was that the line that was put about in the 2017 election? Did Tim Farron do a little bit on muesli eaters or Guardian readers or something? I seem to remember that when he was doing a stand-up comedy in the debates.
I mean, I do miss Tim Farron.
Milky Tim.
Long may he rest in peace.
The producer of the milk from the north.
Oh, here we go again. Was Milky Tim? Was his council up for election this time?
Yep, I think it was.
I think the
results of Milky Tim's council.
I think the Lib Dems held it.
Not really that surprised. I mean, it's very unusual for the Lib Dems to actually suffer any losses up to this point now.
Yeah,
Also,
just got to hear the Lib Dems hold South Lakeland.
Oh, they held it then. Did they increase their majority, or was it no change?
The Liberal Democrats remain in control of South Lakeland District Council. The party has 4 more seats, while the Conservatives lost 3, and the Greens gained 1.
Right.
Just to take comments from the side chat real quick. Ryan Lamb says that Ryan Lamb wants me to become Prime Minister. They also want to see me face off with Nigel Farage in a debate. And then Psycho Benz has said there wouldn't really be much of an argument between Farage and Swiss. They both stand on a similar platform, which I think is him stirring the pot, trying to cause trouble.
Actually, now
event.
that Ben's here and his council was up for election, what are your thoughts on the overall result, Ben? Did you vote for like Democrats and veterans or any of the fringe parties, or did you vote Tory?
Also from Jimbo Jones, apparently the Tories' losses have been about 6 times as bad as Labour's, described by the BBC as, quote, equally bad. Well, that's the BBC doing their balanced coverage. You know,
Yes.
they've got to do balanced coverage, so they've got to describe the Tories and Labour's losses as being equally bad. That's balanced in the mind
By
of
the
the
way,
BBC.
we've still got 70 councils to declare. The Tories are on 821 losses at the moment in terms of councillors, and we haven't even gotten to the southeast, to places like Brighton and other areas like that.
Now, Brighton was the place that once upon a time there was a Green ran council, wasn't there?
Yes.
And I understand that in the time since the Greens have lost their control of it and it's gone to, is it no overall control now, or?
Let me look at Brighton and Hove. See if I can get their results up.
I'm guessing it's freaking green and hippie.
Green and hippie. Well, it used to be Tory actually, and before '97.
Yeah, but ever since freaking ever since Caroline Lucas went over there, it's always been.
She went over there with her environmental policies and a big bag of pot and handed it round to all the locals, and then they all voted Green.
Cycle Ben says in reply to your question, Tom, my Pacific seat only had Labour, Conservative, I'm guessing Yorkshire Party, and an independent, so he voted Conservative because the Yorkshire Party is just a shitty budget SNP.
Right. But what are your overall thoughts on the Barnsley result? Are you happy with it or mixed on it?
Well, I do hope he's happy because the Labour Party have been absolutely nuked there.
Absolutely fucking nuked.
Yeah. Don't.
Fucking Jeremy won't nuke our enemies, but you average councillors get nuked.
What Jeremy needs to nuke is that people's vote. Am I right? Am I right? Yeah.
The Tories need to get Brexit hard man, Steve Baker.
Oh God, please no.
Oh boy, imagine it, James. Brexit hard man Steve Baker is the Prime Minister and the leader of your party.
Hey, if he becomes Tory leader, I get about 70 quid.
And what about Matt Hancock? Can we not have like a nice, soothing Matt Hancock?
If Matt Hancock becomes Tory leader and next Prime Minister, I think I stand to gain about 200 or 300 quid.
I always think of Matt Hancock nowadays as like a Werther's original. Just like soothing. And just like it's so plain that everybody doesn't really have an opinion on it. That is Matt Hancock. He is a Werther's original.
What's funny is that when we first picked up on Hancock on the channel, he was still a relatively unknown junior minister. But he was just a bit of a channel meme. But now that he's become health sec and he's actually a relatively important person within the government, I've started to see like articles being written about him, you know, as there would be articles written about any health sec. But it's just weird seeing them talk about Hancock, who previously was our meme guy. There was one that I shared on Twitter yesterday, which was interesting. It was just talking about how, in a nutshell, the article was basically saying it's great that Matt Hancock seems to understand technology more than other politicians. It's great that he's got some enthusiasm as well. But overall, his enthusiasm for tech and apps might blind him to other needs of the NHS.
By the way,
that was the nutshell.
I've got the results of Brighton and Hove Council. It was no overall control with the Labour Party as the largest party. They actually gained a lot of seats off of the Greens. So I imagine that Brighton and Hove is going to be yet another no overall control area. But I think the Greens will probably take quite a few seats off of Labour.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that because obviously with the wave of protest votes, it makes sense it would go maybe Green instead of Labour. But given that the Greens were recently the people who ran the council anyway, is there a sort of would there be a factor there of going, well, they were still previous incumbents. We want something very different.
By the way, we've got some good news for Labour. Labour's Jamie Driscoll is elected the first ever North of Tyne mayor with 76,000 votes. Conservative Charlie Holt fell short of 60,000. That's actually a very good result from Labour because people were expecting that to go to the Tories because people thought that the second preference votes would get them over the edge. But thankfully, 16,000 votes got him to become the mayor. But on the other hand, bad news for Labour. Labour have lost Middlesbrough to no overall control.
Well, freaking hell, Middlesbrough is an absolute dump. So I'm not surprised.
Labour lost Middlesbrough last general election, didn't they?
Yeah, they lost one seat in Middlesbrough. Yeah. Well, a part of Middlesbrough, yes. Central Middlesbrough is still like solid Labour, but like there's like a posh. I don't know why they call it the posh part of Middlesbrough. There's no posh part of it, but if there is a posh part, it did go Conservative in 2017.
More updates overall on the national picture. The Tories are approaching 850 losses, but Labour are approaching 90. Well, they're on 90, I should say.
I'll read you out the Northern Irish results so far. DUP 23, Alliance Party 16, UUP 11, Sinn Féin 9, SDLP 9, Others 7, Greens 1.
There is a possibility that the SDLP could overtake Sinn Féin as the largest nationalist party.
Lovely stuff. I mean, not a really massive fan of the two main unionist and nationalist parties, to be fair. So,
but I'd imagine that you'll probably be more inclined towards the UUP.
Are we perhaps beginning to see a sort of a movement in the other direction then? That in the last few years we saw sort of going out towards either extremes being the DUP and Sinn Féin, and now people are seeing, okay, that's clearly not working. These guys cannot work together in government, and they're returning back towards the slightly more centristy parties.
I think what we're seeing, honestly, is a protest vote where DUP are still holding steady because that unionist vote is still holding steady. But a lot of people otherwise who are nationalist or even unionist are voting for Alliance, not because they actually like what they stand for, but simply because UUP have done terrible. SDLP did terrible in the early 2000s, and Sinn Féin and DUP have shown time and time again they're not going to work with each other. So the only option we've got left is Alliance and People Before Profit. But People Before Profit are way too left wing for us, so we'll go with Alliance.
Yeah, like if I was probably in Northern Ireland, I would probably vote Alliance, mainly because the DUP and Sinn Féin are like, how can you in good conscience vote for freaking them two? Because they've spent the past 30 odd months arguing between themselves.
It's also more than likely that we're going to have an assembly election in Northern Ireland because the DUP and Sinn Féin. What Karen Bradley has said is if no agreement is reached by, I think it was August, there would be an assembly election held. And the DUP and Sinn Féin have shown that they're not going to reach an agreement at all.
I mean, maybe this might give them if they get big losses, they might save their face and come to I don't know. I mean, Jesus Christ, trying to get blood out of a stone is easier than trying to talk with the DUP. So yeah, I don't hold much hope.
As you Conservatives have learned over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Labour hold Copeland, which is probably a good result for them.
Has the Labour lost seats, however, in that ward?
Good shout, actually.
Yeah, because it's all well and good saying Labour have held it, but keep in mind in the areas that Labour have held, they've usually lost seats.
But yeah. I mean, It's. Also, why is it taking like freaking all day and all night to count these votes? I mean, it's a
Because
low
it's
turnout.
Because it's 8,000 councils that you got to count. Keep in mind, as I mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of spoilt ballots, and in Ipswich, that delayed the counts.
It's just like, hurry up, you know.
Well,
There's
we're getting there.
It's like,
Yeah,
there's still
we are
like 70.
getting there, to be fair, and it is 8,000 results you've got to do.
Yeah. I mean, can they not all just be like Sunderland and do it within like the hour?
You know what? Actually, that would probably spoil things, because if they were all like Sunderland, then we'd get like half of the results in within the first hour. We wouldn't be able to keep track of any of it because it'd be fucking wild, and the election would be over by 1 a.m.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I mean, just like, I was expecting. I mean, I stayed up. I was in work last night anyway, so I got home. I was like, oh, I can't be all staying up any longer. It's fucking seeing council seats is gonna be the end of me at this rate. So yeah, I'm like, and then nothing happened between about 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock, and now everything seems to be changing now. Apparently, Brighton is the Green Party have gained it from no overall control.
Oh, so they got it back now, have they?
Oh, that's well, they didn't have it beforehand, but they had the most amount of seats prior to 2015.
Oh, sorry, I may have been mistaken then. So the situation with Brighton Council in the past was that the Greens formed the government, but with others, but they were just the largest grouping.
Yeah, originally in 2015, basically 2015 was the reverse of what had happened in 2011, I believe. So Labour got 23, the Greens got 11, and the Tories got 20. And before that, it was 23 Green and then the rest for the others. But it appears this time, however, the Greens have gained it from no overall control.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm not too surprised about, because the Greens have gone into triple figure net gains. They've actually done well in quite a lot of places, like St. Helens, I think they did well in.
Yeah,
They've also made quite a few gains in Sheffield as well.
I was is Cameron still here? I was speaking to Cameron about this a few days ago, and we were just saying that there's the Labour Council in Sheffield is massively unpopular because, according to Cam, that they've cut down like a load of trees or something.
Yeah, they've been cutting down trees like for things like power lines, and that's been extremely controversial.
Yeah.
Some of these trees are a couple hundred years old.
So they've
And
basically they've been building on the green belt. I mean,
yeah,
you would have thought at this point, after so many election results where people lose if they build on the green belt, that councils would realise that building on the green belt is not the smartest of ideas.
But also, with Sheffield, it's like there's two parts to the city. So there's part like where Sheffield Hallam's to the west, which is the only place that's remaining in South Yorkshire. Then there's the rest of Sheffield that's extreme overwhelming relief. I'm not too sure. I haven't checked the results, but I suspect Labour have leveraged votes to smaller Eurosceptic parties as well.
Well, apparently in the Sheffield Hallam constituency, which used to be a Liberal Democrat, the Liberals won it by about 2-1.
Current commenter in this chat says they aren't building on the belt; they're cutting down trees next to the road.
Right. Okay. My apologies then. But speaking of actually greenbelt building, wasn't one of the reasons that the Tories lost Trafford, was because they built on the greenbelt?
Yes, that was the reason last year. The Conservative Council in 2018 planned to build on, which was utterly stupid why they did this. Well, I support building more houses, but where they were planning to build them was where mass flooding happens, which...
That's not the smartest of ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
You're building it on a flood path. So they lost loads of seats last year, and they've lost them again.
I'm going to give an update on the NI polls.
Please
Sinn
do.
Féin is not second. They're not third. They're heading for fourth place.
Oh dear.
I'm not, went from second biggest party to fourth, and Alliance is on 17, DEP is on 24. UUP has overtaken Sinn Féin. What the fuck is going on? What is going on?
Your country is based, well, province really, is being taken over by a bunch of wet centrists and also
Imagine-
a bunch of unionists as well.
Wet surge.
Yeah,
Wet surge.
yeah, I think we might be witnessing a coup of the wet Tories
I've fled.
in there. We're witnessing a coup, but we're witnessing a coup in Northern Ireland where the wet Tories are about to seize power.
It's not just raining
Oh,
in Northern Ireland;
Jesus.
it's pouring.
Fine Gael's gonna have a fucking field day when they see Sinn Féin are fourth, about to be fifth.
Let me read one of the comments from the chat, and then I want to bring in Election Maps, who's joined us as well. Apollo TD says, I think that the Green and Eco protests over the last couple of weeks has really helped the Green Party in these local elections by bringing up green issues nationally on the news every day right before the election.
He actually
yeah.
probably does have a point there. I mean, it is interesting how 2 weeks or so before these elections happened, that you had all the Extinction Rebellion protests that occurred throughout the country.
And then, of course, I noticed this, that it seemed that really in the last couple of weeks, after Extinction Rebellion, Greta Thunberg and the rest of it, it seemed that Labour was really pivoting towards a lot of environmental policies as well.
Mm.
You know,
But it
going,
appears-
oh, we're going to, national emergency, climate emergency, this, that and the other.
But it appears to have made very little difference to them in the locals, because even though Labour took credit for declaring the climate emergency, it didn't help them at all. That much.
Oh no, I wasn't trying to suggest that would have given them a massive boost. It just seems to be that if that seems to be one of the hot topics of the day, then they were probably hoping to gain some ground on it. But it makes enough sense that the Greens being, the natural home of environmentalism or whatever, that they probably do the best out of it.
Carlisle remains no overall control. Be interesting though, however, to see who's done well what there.
Election Maps, if you're with us.
Hello.
Hello. How was your night last night? I felt that both of us were in a sense kind of kindred spirits. How busy we both were.
Definitely. I mean, I told myself that I was not going to go to bed after 1 because I had college today. But then I ended up staying up to about 4. Just so I'm very tired. But
oh yeah, same. Like I've had a full night's sleep, even if most of it was during the day. But I think given I stayed up for a whole day before it, I'm still a bit. What surprised you out of the results so far?
I'd say the biggest shock's probably the Greens. I mean, gaining 124 seats is like incredible from where they started. They were on like less than 100 seats last time, so they've got so much bigger. And then, to be honest, UKIP, I mean, they've still lost 83 seats, but they've held on to 21 so far, which compared to like 2018 and 2017, where they were on like 3 seats nationally, they've done pretty well too.
The other thing that's worth noting is that Green vote, in terms of seats, is probably going to go up when Brighton is declared, because Labour sources are apparently saying that it's gone from no overall control to Green gain.
Green. I don't think they have a single council, so yeah, that'll be their first one.
Yeah, it'll be the first council the Greens have hold of since, well, I think 2011? Not too
Are they
sure,
going
though.
to erect a biodegradable statue to Caroline Lucas in the middle of the town square?
No, what will happen is because the Greens don't have any whips, anytime you get any kind of dispute on the council, it just won't really be resolved.
Mr. Ferguson in the chat tells us I will be able to join soon if the stream is still going in 30 minutes. Tories now accepting they will lose 1,000 seats. Yeah, I imagine we'll still be going then. I'm planning on keeping the stream open for a while. Even if I decide to bugger off for a little while, you guys can just,
One of the things that I was surprised by was Barnsley, because they elected 2 Democrats and veterans councillors, and apparently there was a 10% swing towards the English Democrats in that council.
If you want there are two councils, in my opinion, that were complete and utter shocks. Like I did not expect that to happen at all, and that is Wirral and Hartlepool. I was stunned to see the Full Britain Party get nearly 50% of the vote in one ward, and Wirral go from Labour to no overall control.
Yeah.
To be fair, UKIP got 30% last time, and they didn't run.
And I was told that earlier in the day yesterday that the Conservatives may force the Labour Party into no overall control in Wirral. There's been again in Wirral, it's a local issues thing, because again the Labour Party council decided to build on the Greenbelt. So that also had an impact.
You'd think they'd learn. You really would.
You would think these councils would learn after a while that building on the Greenbelt is not popular with voters, but if only they had a brain cell between them.
Maybe that's why we're seeing a green surge to some degree. At least, you never know. Could all tie in.
There was
A lot of these Green Party voters are going, we're sick of these fucking councils building on the Greenbelt. We're going to send them a message.
There was a result in my council in Wakefield which shocked me. The Lib Dems got their first seat for 12 years. Bearing in mind it's a pretty Leave area, but they went from 0% to 63% of the vote.
Oh dang!
Oh yeah, there were some big Lib Dem swings in certain wards, weren't there?
Wasn't there a Lib Dem swing in Sunderland that was like 64%?
Yeah, but it makes no sense. They're just doing amazingly in Leave areas.
Yeah, and also back in Northern Ireland, Sinn Féin is currently 5th.
Fantastic.
Meaning that, and I think we might be seeing a coup by the wet Tories in Northern Ireland, where the wet Tories are essentially going to be taking over the north of Ireland soon.
Election maps. Sorry, dude. Would you mind muting yourself when you're not chatting, just because your keyboard's a little bit loud? Thank you.
But yes, I mean, election maps must be fantastically busy at the moment. How many maps do you have to colour in? It must be like being at school again.
Well, we're going to keep him busy because we've got European elections in
God.
and we've also got Northern Irish Assembly elections in a couple of months.
The European elections are fine because it's actually just like 73 dots, but it's the council elections when you've got like 8,000 wards to fill in.
Have you filled in Portsmouth Council, by the way, or have you still not got round to that?
No, not round to it. I'm just doing all the interesting ones now. So on Calderdale at the moment, when I might do Portsmouth and then some of the Lib Dem games.
Oh yeah, Caldervale was a big Lib Dem, not Lib Dem, Labour game. That was one of their high target seats.
They campaigned really hard.
Future Armour Fan 2010 in the chat asks, does anyone know what the turnout was, lower or higher than the last locals?
We haven't got official turnout numbers, but I've heard suggestions anywhere between 25 to 30%. Broadly speaking, however, everyone seems to agree that turnout has decreased. They just disagree on how big the decrease has been.
And I'll mention as well, which Futurama fan pointed out to me in the comments of the last stream, that apparently they sent me a super chat yesterday, and I'd completely missed it and hadn't read it out, where they'd complimented me on the fine craftsmanship of the local election sign. So I'm more than happy to say thank you very much, Futurama fan.
Yeah,
the cardboard with local election written on it.
We've got this fucking swingometer still from yesterday that needs to find a use at some point. You know what? I'm gonna fuck it out. Yeah, I'm gonna start on this now. I think we've got enough of an idea of how the parties are doing that I can plot them from great to shit on the swingometer, the Swissometer.
Yeah, if you want basically great, have like Lib Dem, Independent, Green, shit, have Labour. Tories, UKIP, Labour.
I know election maps on your map of I think Hartlepool Council. I I basically commented commented basically saying I liked this tweet because of the work you do, not the result that has transpired.
I saw that. It was so weird. There was 4 Britain going to see UKIP and the Democrats and People's Party, who I haven't even heard of, going to see.
The thing that is worth noting is, as I mentioned earlier, For Britain nearly got half the overall vote share in that one ward. Oh, and also, speaking of which, Lib Dems have now reached over 500 gains.
Oh, daddy.
Tories are losing 1 in every 4 councillors.
Ooh, that losing nearly a quarter of your councillors, that's very, very bad.
I'm sure the local Conservative activists will be absolutely happy with tonight's results.
Well, I mean, if I'm honest, James, like the local Conservative activists probably didn't even bother campaigning.
Well, if they're not going to bother campaigning the locals, they've got no chance of campaigning in the European elections in a few weeks' time. But yeah, it's not a good night, and 1,000 seats losses is more than. Well, there were some estimated that they'd lose 1,000 seats, but people thought that would be like, oh, they're going to say they'll lose 1,000 seats and they'll only lose 500, and it'd be like, oh, the Conservatives didn't do as bad, where they're actually going to lose 1,000 seats.
Yeah,
I had them down to lose 700, and I was fairly confident with that, but nope.
Didn't all of your predictions not come true? Like every single party prediction you got wrong.
I got the Lib Dems up 450, so it might be close-ish to that.
Yeah, I mean, I expect the Lib Dems will probably. It's not out the realm of possibility that they get 600 seats. We've still got 70 councils to declare, and I imagine that considering a lot of those councils are happening in the south, I imagine there'll be a lot of Lib Dem gains.
And Labour doing better in the south than the north, so their projected national vote share might go up.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the problem. Labour just seem to be like stuck on losing 80 seats for about 6 hours now. I've not seen them gain seats or lose. Well, they've gained seats and then they've lost them in the north.
Yeah,
they've been stuck in around 80 to 90 seats for about 7 o'clock this evening.
The reason for that is because we've been making gains in the south, but it's all being invalidated by the north. Like, all of the results that are positive get wiped out by places like Ashfield, Bolton, Burnley, Hartlepool, St Albans, so on and so St Helens, so on and so forth.
Oh dear. Maybe Jeremy Corbyn needs to tone it down with the second referendum talk. Maybe that might help. But then saying that, in a way, right, I think even if Jeremy Corbyn was like, right, we're going pro-Remain, second referendum, I think people would actually, even though they disagree with it, they would appreciate the principle of it. Now, sitting on the fence saying, oh, well, we might have a second referendum if the Tory deal comes back to Parliament again, is a bit wishy-washy. At least be confident in what you believe in. At least to credit the Liberal Democrats, at least they've always said, we demand a second referendum.
Well, I mean, you can say it's somewhat principled to at least be clear about what you want, and that much I can agree with. But from a personal perspective, as principled as it might be to go, where for a second referendum, come at me, my response would be, I'm not voting for you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and to be fair, that would be the case in most of the north. Like, if Labour went second referendum, come at me, they would go, right then, let's throw a giant Brexit Party bowling ball at your direction.
The majority of Labour voters, though, even in the north, did vote Remain, even if the seats voted Leave. So.
Yeah, but as we're seeing, that doesn't mean too much in regards to the local area because Labour are getting hammered heavily in the north.
But the Greens and the Lib Dems are doing all right.
They're picking up votes off of the Tories, though.
Turnout as well.
What was that, sorry?
Turnout as well.
Yeah, turnout is incredibly low, so the people that are turning out are protest voters. And if you want a protest vote, Lib Dems, Independents, Greens, those are your options. And the Lib Dems gains have largely been off of the back of the Conservatives, not Labour.
All right, the Swissometer's coming along here. We've got it from a scale of good to cucked. And we're just going to slowly fill people in around the place. So it's got to be the Tories, right? It's got to be the Tories as being the most cucked. Just obvious headline figures.
Yes,
Yeah, obviously.
they are the Cooks.
Oh, we just lost 2 people. Brilliant.
I'm sure they'll return.
Oh,
But yes, the Conservatives are the main losers of tonight, and then I would go the Labour Party as having a relatively bad night as well.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Conservative, then Labour Party, then UKIP, Lib Dems all the way. Oh, I don't know about Lib Dems versus Greens. Maybe Lib Dems with Greens next to them.
It's a tough one, really, because, I mean, I would say from overall performance, I would say the Greens. And the reason why I'd say the Greens is because the Lib Dems are starting off from a low base, loads of protest voters, and the fact that they're making up for all of the losses that they suffered in 2015 when they got absolutely wiped out as a result of the general election. The Greens, however, are actively making gains in areas which they didn't actually win before.
Some good news for the Labour Party in the north. The Labour Party take control of the High Peak, which is in between Lancashire, well, in between Manchester and Yorkshire. The High Peak
I
is.
have never heard of this place before.
Yes, it was also a seat that that went to Labour in 2017. So
isn't the High Peak quite close to Peveril Castle?
well, I don't know. I'm guessing. Yeah, I know it's in between like Manchester and Yorkshire. It's like the Pennines.
Council. Let's
Yeah.
see. It sounds like it's quite close to Peveril Castle. Yeah, I think it might. It's in north. It's in the north. It's the north tip of Derbyshire.
Mm.
So yeah, I think it might be quite close to Peveril Castle.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the only good results for Labour in the north tonight. Apart Old Trafford as well, they gained Trafford as well, so I'm guessing that's another one.
Oh shit! I had myself on mute there. Would you guys be able to keep one eye on the side chat as well? Just as I'm sorting out the Swissometer, I've got myself on mute and I'll sort of refresh the results on screen every now and then.
Mr. Ryan Lamb says that Tom Watson should be the next Prime Minister. Now,
no.
No.
If that happens, I think we might be needing to say hello to BNP 2.0.
Was Ryan Lamb who was the one who's saying that I should become PM? Because it's quite a pivot to go from Swiss to Tom Watson.
Yeah, especially since you two are quite far apart in terms of your political views.
Well, for one thing, I want to keep the monopoly promotion at McDonald's.
And I want to keep Tony the Tiger on my Frosties.
I don't really understand this crusade he's been doing overall. I mean, now I'm not as outraged about it as some people like James are about, oh no, Tony the Tiger, it's the end of days as a result of this being scrapped. But at the same time, it is just rather silly getting rid of these things. Especially since, does advertisement really have that much of an impact?
Yes, but not on cereal packets. I'd understand maybe not selling, not advertising sugary cereal on TV at breakfast time. I'd understand that. But because what he's planning to do is basically make all cereal packets like
cigarette boxes,
packets, so like plain coloured
Yeah, so
grey.
when you go to pick up cigarettes, it's always like plain, boring colours like grey, white, black, gold. It's not really
Yeah.
colourful ones.
But yeah, as much as the cigarette packaging is completely plain, they're more than happy to put lots of lovely images of people with throat cancer and deformed fetuses and all the rest of it on there.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about freaking Gammon Watson. Morgan Farrelly says, "Do you find it interesting that both parties are once again projected to have 28% share of the vote, when last year they both had 35% of the vote, back-to-back same shares?" Well, I think it just shows, my opinion is, I think it just shows that the people, the country, are fed up with both main parties equally. Like even last year, the Conservatives lost seats, but did a bit better than expected, and the Labour Party didn't do as expected.
I think
Again,
the reason
that has been shown again tonight.
I think the reason for that is because it's a different sort of time change, really. Like, Labour had as high of a vote share as it did is because of London, because you had all those seats in London that were up for election, and Labour does very well in London nowadays. If it hadn't been for London, then I think Labour probably would have had a net loss in terms of seats and a lower vote share. Because keep in mind that while we gained in London, we got hammered in places like New Eton. So that's worth mentioning. As for the Tories, I think the reason why they did better than expected is because they absorbed all of the UKIP vote. Because at the time, people still considered the Tories to be the party of Brexit, whereas nowadays, not so much. But I do agree with the overall idea of people are fed up with the two main parties and their uncooperative behaviour towards one another and the refusal to work with one another and actually solve the Brexit issue. And so people are turning out to vote against both of them in droves, whether that is voting for the Independents or the Greens or the Lib Dems and other people.
Callum says, and he is correct, the country is much more fed up with the Conservatives. Well, yes, but they are also deeply fed up with the Labour Party, as the Labour Party, as the Shadow Chancellor said, were meant to be gaining 400 seats tonight, and they've lost, I think, about 85.
Well, keep in mind that most experts predicted that a bad night for Labour would be gaining only 100 plus seats. As things stand right now, they are on about minus 90.
Yeah, minus 96 now. So four away from the triple figures, and I predict that if they do hit triple digits, I think that there will be an attempted coup.
Well, I think they'll probably wait until after the European elections, and that goes the same for the Conservatives as well. I think they'll also wait for after the European elections to try and throw out May again. You know, kind of funny how Conservative MPs bang on about respecting a referendum result, but can't respect the result of no confidence in just 6 months. Not even 6 months ago. About 3 months ago.
Well, to be fair to those Tory MPs, the circumstances are vastly different from what they were like in December. Like, you have a situation where the Tories they're going to lose 1,000 councillors, lose the European elections by an incredible margin for a national party, and have suffered the biggest and fourth largest parliamentary defeats in UK government history. So I would say that what the circumstances were in mid-December are not the same as they are on the 3rd of May 2019.
I think Leon King hits the nail on the head. He says that this summer will be filled with both the Conservatives and the Labour Party infighting. which
Yeah.
every
think-
summer normally does happen.
Well, it didn't happen. It happened last summer with Labour, but only Labour, not so much the Tories. But this time around, this result, coupled with the European elections, which are going to see the Brexit party win more than likely, I do think that the summer of this year is going to be mass infighting between both Labour and Conservatives, and that's what's going to dominate the headlines.
Yeah, and I believe that if the Brexit Party does very, very well in the European elections, they will breach 20% in the opinion polls, and they potentially would come within only 2-3 points of overtaking the Conservatives on Westminster polls.
Yeah, it wouldn't be far off. They are certainly on the. I think the Brexit Party will have a spike of support, and then it'll probably like flatline after more people get to know who they are.
By the way, we've got more updates for the locals. The Tories are now on 924 losses, and Labour are on 97, 3 away from triple figures.
Oh dear.
Right, I've nearly got the swingometer ready, by the way. The Swissometer, I ought to say. It doesn't actually detect swing. I just need Is my mic back on? It is, yeah, good.
It is, yeah. I'll just read out one more comment before we get the Swissometer out.
Go for it. Yeah.
Morgan Frowley says, it's probably very hard to do, but can we conclude, based on these local results, what the next general election will look like? Now, what I would say is,
no.
it's very difficult because it doesn't include the Change UK and it doesn't include the Brexit Party. And
Not only that, but keep in mind that in 2017, Labour had the worst result for an opposition party since, I believe, 1982, 1 year before Thatcher won her massive landslide. But in spite of having that much of a catastrophic result in the locals, Labour went on to have a net gain in 30 seats, which was the first time that they had a net gain in UK parliamentary seats since 1997. So, no. Locals, while they are an indicator, they are not an accurate prediction of what the country will do come a national election because of the low turnout and because of people voting on different issues.
I read somewhere I think it was on the BBC. If you count all the independent votes together, it's about 25%.
Yes.
Now, you can't count that in general election. Of course, it's people, I'm not going to vote independents.
I think the independents are on about 700 seats. The Lib Dems have just crossed 1,000 seats. They are on 1,012. Only, I think, not that many off Labour, about 600 off Labour.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Have anybody got any updates on Northern Ireland?
Yeah. Northern Ireland, DUP 24, Alliance Party 17, Sinn Féin 13, UUP 13, SDLP 10, Others 7, Traditional Unionist Voice 2, and Greens 1, 87 out of the 462 seats filled.
I'm going to get told off by Gerd because I haven't put the Northern Ireland parties into the Swissometer. Anyway, here we are. You ready? We've got right here. This is the Swissometer going from good all the way over to cucked. And if we could just talk our way through the parties, we've got the Lib Dems, gain councils, gain councillors. You said nearly 1,000 gains. It's been a pretty good night for them.
Move it a bit into view. We can't see the Lib Dems.
As this, yeah? Right, so we have the Lib Dems. It's been a pretty good night. Then you move on down to the Greens, starting off from a lower base, but they've made some nice increases for themselves. And the Indies have done very good, doubling their number of councillors overall. You move over to the other side, you've got UKIP, expected to get smashed, and by and large they have, but they've held on to slightly more than people might have anticipated. The Labour Party expected to make big gains, or relatively good gains, and actually they've gone and lost ground. And then the Conservatives, everyone thought they'd get smashed. People were saying they'd lose 1,000 seats. People like myself even went, oh no, they won't lose 1,000 seats. And yet they've lost bloody well lose more than that as well. And this is the Swissometer. So we've got the good parties and the cucks parties of the night. What do you think? Is this worth all that Patreon money and super chats?
It is absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
Money well spent.
Good. Oh dear.
I mean, we have the BBC going all lush with their graphics, and us on Captain Swiss just has a cardboard box saying local elections.
Well, if we want
just-
somebody to produce us very nice and pretty graphics, we have got election maps.
We do.
Yeah. Election maps is, the nice slick side of the political analysis, whereas mine's the budget version.
Apparently, is it Tweaksbury? I think it is, which I think is Rowan's seat. It's a Conservative majority of 8, so they've held on to that one.
It depends if they've lost any seats. Election Maps has just released a map. Imagine my shock. That has the Lib Dems in Winchester on 11 and the Conservatives on 5. The Lib Dems were up 6 and the Conservatives were down 6. And the Liberal Democrats now take control of the council. And is Winchester in the south east? It seems like a southeast sort of place.
Apparently, the Labour Party has made some big gains in Thanet.
Oh,
where's...
Apparently, according to Sundog on Twitter, 7 gains in Thanet for Labour so far, but that was half an hour ago, so it may have gone up or down.
And what's that down to then? Just like Tories staying home in Thanet, I'd assume.
Yeah. A lot of the Conservative loss is not because of the people voting against them. It's simply because people who are Conservative voters have just stayed home and not voted.
Yeah, that seems to be the case, and that's the thing that's worth reminding of as well. That often when we talk about votes going one way to another, it's not always voters switching allegiances. It's just how the vote share has gone, which can be affected by turnout.
Tories have lost Swale to no overall control. That's in Kent.
I've never heard of that place.
Neither have I.
I'll pop back up the local election results then. I'll give that a quick refresh. Labour. Yeah, there's someone in the side chat said Labour down into triple-digit losses for council seats now. Tories are going to hit. Tories are going to hit 1,000. You know what? I want to stick around to see the Tories hit 1,000.
They're currently on 934, so it's not that long to go. I'm sure it'll be within the next half hour.
Yeah, Labour have now reached triple-digit numbers of councillors lost. 108 councillors lost for Labour.
Government in waiting. That's all I have to say.
Awful result. I'll repeat it again. Our worst prediction was we would only gain 100 seats. We've now lost 100 seats.
Government in waiting, Tom. I'll have you know. A government in waiting. I mean, even on a bad night for the Conservatives, we still have to chuckle at the Labour Party.
A plague on both your houses.
Roy Whitehead, ex-Conservative leader of Chelmsford Council, which was gained by the Liberal Democrats last night, says his group of ex-councillors want Theresa May to resign and not prepared to campaign in any European elections that may occur.
So this is the second council grouping that have said we don't want the European elections. We're not going to campaign in them. The other one being Derbyshire.
As a Conservative Party actually announced candidates for that.
Yes. All the parties have put their candidates up, their lists up for the different regions.
I've heard that apparently, and I don't know how true this is, but I've heard that apparently at least 2 of the people on the Conservative lists for the EU elections are planning to vote Brexit Party.
I've
Yeah.
heard about this as well, and I'm not really that surprised.
Imagine be like, vote for me, but I'm going to vote for the Brexit Party.
No worries, I'll vote the same way you do.
The same thing with Anne Whittaker is because apparently she's still taking member of the Conservatives, or that's the rumor on.
She can't technically be a member of the Tories if she's actively running against them.
There was a rumor that she still is.
Swiss, there seems to be a bot in the side chat, and because there's been a spanner purge, I do not have the privilege to time them out.
Why? What is this bot? What's it saying?
It's basically just saying absolute random gobbledygook, saying I gave 1.5 million to the SMEs winning Queen's Award for International Trade. It's talking absolute shite.
I want to look at this. I've got to see this.
But yes,
Don't time it out yet. I want to see this. This is going to be really funny.
But the side chat's not too bad tonight. This afternoon, Object of Hate has given us a Northern Ireland update saying the DUP are on 28, the Alliance Party are on 17, Sinn Féin are on 14, the UUP are on 14, and the SDLP are on 10.
Interesting. By the way, I'm looking at what he's saying. He's saying Saudis torture and execute children. Trump's US police execute 16-year-old for no car tax. What else is
Hello.
My
Hello.
info is not total. Us 45. World press freedom, and this is a bot.
That makes perfect sense to me. I don't know what you people are talking about.
Excuse me, just to say that the Labour Party is now down more than 100.
Yep.
Now, what was I going to say? I'll be back in a few minutes, but I thought I'd pop in.
Thanks for popping in to tell us that Labour's down over 100.
Yes, also to say that the Conservatives are now 937 down. So I would say that they'll probably be down.
councils to go.
We're waiting for the big 1K.
We'll probably be down more than 1,000 seats, but within an hour or two. Hopefully.
We'll see. Fingers crossed.
I think I've consigned myself to the fact that Labour is not going to have an overall net gain. Unless something massive happens, they're going to have a net loss.
Yeah, I think given that we've now had, according to the website, 199 of 248 councils in, I think that's enough results to tell us what the overall trend is. It would have to be pretty unlikely for someone to pop up in these last few results to buck that trend.
There was rumours earlier on that Manchester City Council might have a few more Liberal Democrats on it. I'm sorry to annoy the Liberal Democrats, but out of the 33 seats up for election, 32 went to the Labour Party. That now means out of the 96 council seats on the Manchester City Council, 93 are held by Labour.
To put that in perspective, compared to last time, it was 94 Labour, so they've only lost one seat to the Lib Dems.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as in Manchester. You could freaking kill half of human Moss Side and still get probably 90 of the seats. It is literally as left-wing as I would say it is the most left-wing place in the country, the city of Manchester.
Oh, I'm not too sure about that. Lewisham, for example, every seat on the council is Labour. But I'd definitely agree it's one of the most left-wing places in the whole country. Definitely agree. To put it in perspective, more of Manchester Council is Labour than Liverpool.
Right. The Huffington Post, surely this cannot be fair. Right. The re-election of a Conservative councillor by a majority of one has sparked controversy after a ballot paper marked with the word Brexit was counted as a vote for the Conservatives.
Was the word Brexit entirely within the little tick box?
Now, Stephen Hurst retained his seat in Tetbury Town in the Cotswolds by one vote. The voter is said to have written Brexit with a large arrow pointing towards Hearst's name, and it was ruled to be a vote for the Tories, despite not ticking the box.
Fucking
Well, all right. Next time, when you go and spoil your ballot, Swiss, do a massive penis on it and point it to one of the candidates.
I mean, they
Because,
can't. They can't possibly have used my dick as a vote because it was spread across Labour and the Independent. They
Well,
were
this is
both
the
getting pretty
interesting-
good dick coverage.
From
So
what I've heard, apparently, if you this might be an urban legend, but if you draw anything in the ballot box, provided it's within the borders of the ballot box, it counts as a vote. So even if you draw a massive penis in the ballot box in that little area, so long as it's within the borders of the box, it counts as a vote.
this is something that I've heard because there was a previous election where someone had drawn a dick entirely within the box for the Conservative candidate, and that was counted as a Tory vote.
Yeah, I also have heard cases where Green Party voters have drawn little flowers within their Green Party boxes, and that's counted as a vote.
Oh, the bloody Greens would draw flowers in their boxes, wouldn't they?
Election Maps UK has said Tories already down from 6-1 in York.
So, someone on the Labour Twitter said, if Theresa May survives Tories losing over 1,000 seats at the local elections and the upcoming massacre on the May the 23rd European elections, then she'll survive a nuclear bomb.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong, is he?
No,
think of it this
probably
way,
not,
right?
actually.
She will survive the first and fourth largest government defeats in UK parliamentary history, 1,000 losses of councillors at a local election, and a complete and utter obliteration in the European elections.
Politically, she's like a cockroach.
Well, this is the problem. They had their shot at ousting her, and they didn't do it. And now they're having to reap the consequences of that.
Indeed, they are. Now they can't get rid of her until December.
This may be one of the closest election results tonight. Andy Abraham's Labour Party has been elected as the new mayor of Mansfield by 2 votes.
Ooh.
He actually gains it from the Mansfield Independents. So, not a bad, relatively okay result for the Labour Party there. Imagine winning it by 2 votes. I mean, my council seat last year was won by 2 votes.
There is a parliamentary constituency up in Scotland called Far North East, I believe, in which the SNP won it from the Lib Dems. Not won it, but held it against the Lib Dems. The Lib Dems were only 2 votes away from taking the seat.
Oh dear.
Bloody hell.
That was a parliamentary constituency. Like, if 3 more people had been swayed to vote Lib Dem rather than SNP, they would have won it. So close.
Imagine losing a seat by 2 votes. You must be like, oh, bastard! If I campaigned in like somewhere else, like in a little tiny village in the ward, I'd have done a bit better.
If I'd gone to like one house with 3 people living in it, I would have won.
Am I right that if there's a draw and like after recounts it's still a draw, that the way to decide is to flip a coin?
No,
or draw lots.
They tend to flip the coin or draw short straws, but I think what happens sometimes is the returning officer just decides who wins.
Oh, like a John Burko speaker sort of situation.
Yeah, I've heard that happens occasionally. But yeah, there's a variety of different ways that it can be done. Coin toss, short straws, returning officer just decides.
So in which case then I guess there's no fixed rule for it, and I'm assuming that it's the returning officer who decides whether it's a coin toss or straws, or whether they just go, fuck it, I like the Lib Dem candidate today. You're gonna get
There's been a lot of talk on the Labour left of how Preston City Council is like a beacon of left-wing socialism. Well, it has proved once again that the Labour Council must be popular. The Labour Council in Preston are up 4. The Conservatives are down 7. and the Liberal Democrats are up 3.
Thank
So-
fuck that stayed Labour, because that was something I was worried about.
So I don't. What have they done there? That's quite impressive.
They've implemented sort of miniature Corbynomics. Like they've got a whole bunch of different investment and invested it in regenerating businesses and small local industry, stuff like that. They've done the complete opposite of austerity there, and unsurprisingly, it's worked.
Mm.
Because I mean, it goes without saying, but you can't cut your way to prosperity.
Should we take a look at Angel's dad's council?
Has the results for it come out yet?
Well, I've
no,
got the
nothing on the
numbers,
website.
but I've got the numbers of how many votes he got, but I've not got it compared to. I mean, Runnymede Council website is utter shit because on some wards it has like the results compared to like the Labour Party or the Conservatives, but on some of the wards it just has for example, I'll read out what Egham Town ward got. So it was 3 seats up, and all 3 Runnymede independents won. So Angels' dad got 900 votes. The other independent got 1,010, and the other independent got 1,031. And turnout was 35%, which is 34%. Sorry, which is. So it's out of an electorate of 4,350, but they all vote 3 times. So I'm guessing again that the numbers haven't been fully released yet. So we are hoping Angels can let us know. But yes, Mr. Brian Clark himself has been duly elected.
Has she said at all, like in the chat, when she's going to be available, if she's likely to pop on?
Well, she is currently. She said in the bullet chat about 15 minutes ago that she is in the pub with the new independent councillors, getting ready for the photographs with the local paper. So,
Well,
By the way,
I
in
can't
terms of-
begrudge her being busy in this case, though.
By the way, in terms of different results to compare this to like future results, in terms of a government as a whole, this is the worst result for a government since 1999, when Tony Blair's Labour Party lost 1,100 seats. For the Tories themselves individually, it's the worst result for the Tories since 1995, when they lost 2,000 seats.
Wow. And where do you think the total losses are going to be at for the Tories, all in all? Because it seems fairly obvious now we're definitely going to hit that 1,000 threshold. Where do you guys think it'll end up?
The overall losses, I believe, are going to be in the south, in particular, and the Midlands.
Oh no, sorry, I mean like numerically, sort of roughly how many councillors do you think they'll lose, all in all?
Oh, I reckon 1,050, 1,100, round about that number.
oh, it could be.
I'm going to say
more.
I'm going to say 1,200.
Ooh, that's a gamble.
Yeah, and I'll say that Labour will lose about 150 all in all.
There's still about 45 councils to go, so you won't be that far off us, and they're on 952 at the moment.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
are.
I'm just doing it off the basis of assuming that the next lot of results are going to be broadly similar to the results we've already had.
Yeah. It's going to be I think most of them will be done by about 6 o'clock to get an accurate picture, really. We've got an accurate picture now that the Conservatives have had a duly bad night, and so the Labour Party.
For me, I know it was early days, but the signs were on the wall that this was not going to be a good night for Labour when we lost 12 seats in Sunderland.
Yeah. I think Wirral was the council for me, because I was told, like I said earlier in the day, that they would the Labour Party will be pushed out to no overall control. And when that happened, I thought, oh, the Conservatives are doing not too bad.
I think for me it was because people in the chat were saying, oh, Sunderland might be a special exception because of dissatisfaction with that particular Labour council. But I think it was when results in Newcastle were similar to that in Sunderland. Obviously, nowhere near to the same degree, but nonetheless, you still had Labour moving backwards. That said to me, this isn't just a specific local thing. This is a regional thing. This is
Basically,
a bigger thing.
In 2 in the morning, that's what I thought as well. And then round about 2 in the morning, when Labour was not making any net gains whatsoever, because I think that throughout all of the counting that's been going on, Labour not once at any point has had net gains. They've only had net losses. The moment that it went bad for me was when we lost Wirral to no overall control. I thought, this is not good. We've fucked this up real good. And unfortunately, that's only continued as the counting's gone on throughout the day. The result is getting worse for us.
So obviously, in the wake of this, because I think some of you guys have been saying, right, this basically says that Labour needs to abandon the whole people's vote shtick. But I expect that we're also going to have the opposite being argued, that you'll have the people in favour of a people's vote, they'll point to these results and they'll go, aha, look at this. The Lib Dems, massive Remainers. Greens, massive Remainers. Look how well they've done. So I think there's still going to be a fight within Labour over how to respond to these local elections. But I guess that since the NEC had already met on the wording of their EU election manifesto regarding a people's vote, and that's been decided, I doubt there's much scope for them to change things much in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't see them changing much now. They may change it come next conference, though. Come next conference in the late summer, they could change it to back a people's vote on any deal whatsoever.
And then the transformation to going full Remain is finally complete.
Yes.
I mean, I do think there's a possibility that could happen, but I think it would be a massive, massive miscalculation. But it will prove to me, once and for all, that the only way you'll ever get the political parties in this country to actually pay attention and change anything is if you affect them at the national Westminster level. If you don't affect their seat numbers in the House of Commons, broadly speaking, they seem to not really care.
The Apollo TD says, my local party chairman has called a no-confidence special meeting in May's leadership. They were expecting losses in Stockport, but not this bad. The local party wants Theresa May out, and our local Tory leader has also lost his seat.
Oh dear.
So yeah, everything is going swimmingly well in the Conservative Party membership.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they do have a right to be angry with her. As I said, worst result for the Conservatives in 24 years.
Sir Tony Robinson has quit the Labour Party. I thought that was Sir Tommy Robinson for a moment.
Also Tony the Tiger.
He played Bladrick in the comedy Blackadder.
Baldrick,
sorry. Basically saying the usual anti-Semitism and poor leadership, people's vote now.
Is he an MP?
No, he's a celebrity.
No, he used to be on the Labour NEC though, so he was heavily involved within the Labour Party.
Kind of like an Eddie Izzard then.
Yeah.
Oh, right. In that case, I'm not that concerned overall. If it was an MP, I'd pay more attention to it, because it's not an MP or any sort of politician. I'm not that concerned.
I remember being distraught over J.K. Rowling and how she felt about the Labour Party. That was a big blow.
According to Object of Hate, the Unionists are rallying in Northern Ireland. The DUP are currently on 29. The UUP are on 17. The Alliance Party are on 17. Sinn Féin are on 15. The SDLP are on 10. Others on 8. Greens on 2. And the TUV are on 2.
Hashtag UUP surge.
What
Yeah.
what are the obviously I know there's Sinn Féin and I know that Alliance is supposed to be middle ground. What are the other non-unionist parties in Northern Ireland? Are there?
There
The gr-
is
Greens.
the Greens, Alliance, and People Before Profit, and that's really all there are. But it is worth noting that all of these non-affiliated political parties still usually ally themselves with nationalists more so than unionists, and the reason for that is because they're all on the left, and they're all on the left. Well, not the Alliance Party; they're centrist, but they're sort of more leaning to the left than the right. And so, as a result, all of the nationalist parties are on the left, and so they're more inclined to vote for them simply because of the left-right divide. Like People Before Profit are out and out Trotskyist, so yeah.
Lovely.
So there isn't really a right wing pro Irish unification party in Northern Ireland then, or at least not a major one.
No, not really. I'd say there isn't really. I mean, the thing about Irish nationalism, right, is Irish nationalism has never really been that right wing. The closest thing you've ever gotten is you've had a couple of political parties that could broadly be described as blue Labour-ish, but that's the closest you've ever really gotten to a right-wing nationalist in Northern Ireland.
The DUP Belfast Council leader, Lee Reynolds, has been eliminated. I don't know if anybody
Now
knows
when you
anything
say
about him.
when you say eliminated, is that opposed to voted out? Does eliminated mean she's literally been?
Yeah, I think so.
She's got. Someone's wiped her off the face of the earth.
She's just been taken away from the count to be never seen again.
Yeah, she has been destroyed.
52% turnout as well at the moment.
Residents Association has gained Uttlesford, Essex from Conservatives.
Not a clue where that is, apart from it being in Essex.
Labour have overtaken the Tories in Thanet in terms of seats.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 7 gains up to now for the Labour Party in Thanet.
The Tories, as things stand right now, 968 losses. Labour 109 losses.
I've got 970 on my feed here.
Oh, it might have been updated then, just quickly, because that's what it is after I reloaded it just then.
Trying to find freaking BBC News are absolute knobheads. They've had election coverage on all afternoon, and now they're talking about freaking weather in some country.
Is that the only reason you think BBC News are knobheads?
Yeah. I want my election coverage, and I want it now.
Well, to be fair, Sky News tends to be good for national elections, whereas BBC tends to be better for local.
Yeah, because I can't see that. It's so small, the numbers on Sky News. 989 at the moment on Sky News, so we are approaching 1,000.
Oh boy, I can't wait for that crossover. For some reason, I'm really excited for that.
And the Liberals are up 623, or is that 523?
542, it says, according to the BBC.
It might be 523. I'm sat far from a TV, and it's so small, the writing, which doesn't help my bad eyes.
Average Joe in the chat asks me, Captain Swiss, do you think Labour can win over Leavers by going more hard Brexit? I think Leavers will never trust Labour, even if they went hard Brexit, but former Labour Remain voters can be. I don't know. I mean, obviously, more Leavers tend to vote right wing than left wing. In my case, at least, I could see myself returning to the Labour fold if they went down a further sort of a more hard Brexit path. But as far as like what's more electorally viable for them at the moment, I I honestly don't know. I know that there are seats that they want to win on the national level that are kind of marginal, that voted Leave, that they could struggle in. But I'm really not sure, to be honest. I don't know what the strategy ought to be for them right now.
I mean,
One question. There's one
I've
question
made
I
it
want.
clear for.
Carry on.
I mean, I've made it clear for a while that, in my opinion, Labour needs to become the party of soft Brexit. I know that it won't do well based on their parliamentary arithmetic, but at the end of the day, I've said it before, I'll say it again, all of our losses are coming from heavy Leave areas.
I mean, the thing is, they were the party of soft Brexit until they started flirting with this idea of a second EU referendum, and now they're drifting towards a party of Remain. Yes, I'd much like to see them return to being a party of soft Brexit.
I would say they were a party of medium Brexit, because I would say that a soft Brexiter is somebody that wants to, broadly speaking, remain in the customs union as single market, whereas Labour's original position, well, it kind of still is really, was to stay in the customs union but leave the single market.
But it's have a customs union and have close ties and access to the single market, which in my view, probably once it's negotiated, you can put it side by side with the situation of being an EU member, and it's probably not going to be that different.
It's going to be the customs union. They can spin it as whichever way they'd like, but at the end of the day, in reality, it will be the customs union, not a customs union. Because if there's one thing the EU have shown time and time again, have been consistent on, it's that they will not renegotiate. We're only 20 seats away, by the way, from the Tories reaching 4-digit losses.
Oh, go on then. I'll screen share the website again, just so we can see it when it happens.
One of them nights. It's been a freaking. I think I've slept about 2 hours, and I'm out this evening. I'm gonna be no energy whatsoever.
I dozed, such as I, because I was cold, I ended up laying down in. I ended up just getting under the covers of bed just so that I could watch it from my laptop. However, I ended up falling at around. This was at around 3 or 4 a.m. And then I must have fallen asleep, and then I woke up at 9:30 in the morning.
I went to sleep from 6 till 8, which was a lot less time than I wanted to sleep. Stayed up until 4 in the morning until it got to a point where I just physically could not stay up, and then fell asleep until 6.
Yeah, I've well, you know what my situation's been. I'm still feeling knackered, even though I've had a fairly decent amount of sleep.
Did you drink like loads of Monster and different caffeine drinks?
Oh man, yeah. Like I you know what? I was quite good because I didn't crack open my 3rd can of Monster, even though I was tempted to, and I had enough fucking trouble sleeping when I got to bed. Anyway, it would have been even worse.
By the way, we are now 11 seats away from 4-digit losses for the Tories.
Oh, 10 seats according to mine.
Oh, we're getting close then. We're getting close to that triple figure number.
It's like the freaking New Year's countdown.
3,
10.
2, 1.
It's coming.
Happy political realignment. Way!
Happy Conservatives getting fucked yet again and not changing their leader or any policy. Woo!
All I can say is Brexit Party, Lib Dem 2-party system when.
Oh god.
Would you be a BXP or a cuck in that situation? I mean a Lib Dem.
I'd probably
that wasn't even meant to be a slight against the Lib Dems, by the way. I genuinely was thinking of Change UK for a minute.
I'd probably be essentially. I'd essentially vote for the right of the Lib Dems or to the most moderate BXPers.
I still struggle to see the common ground between those guys.
Well, you could use.
Hello, I'm back.
Hello.
Hi.
I just thought I'd get back here before the Conservatives lose, more.
Oh, you've arrived just in time.
Yes, and I've just cracked open a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon.
9 seats away.
What else to toast the complete collapse for the Tories at local government level than Chile and red wine.
Well,
We
also you
are
could add to
9
that the
seats
second
away. We
for
are
the
9
second
seats away from
the second
1,000.
for the second largest party that's collapsed. You could add that for Labour as well.
Yes, but they have not collapsed. They haven't really collapsed that much.
I mean,
Well,
they've done.
they were
They've
meant
done
to gain
very.
400 seats.
Yeah, I was going to say they've done very poorly, very very poorly.
I'd still say that compared to losing 1,000 seats, losing 100 is not that bad.
Well, considering that
Um,
on their worst night they were predicted to only gain 100, they've gone to lose 100. I'd say that's not at all good or worth celebrating.
I think it's quite clear that the Tories have had objectively the worst result.
Oh, definitely.
But I think that if we're talking about matters of expectation, most people thought the Tories were going to get pummeled anyway. But Labour was expected to make gains, so having moved backwards is at the very least worse than expected.
Yeah, it's like everyone really predicted that Labour would have a net gain. I don't think anyone predicted Labour to have a net loss.
Just to say that Labour has held Norwich on a reduced majority, having lost 4 seats to the Greens.
Yeah, Norwich is an area of the country which is quite Labour Green leaning.
Indeed.
Angels is in the side chat saying she is currently drinking and eating with Councillor Clark. I mean, don't forget us when you're famous, Angels, when Councillor Clark becomes an MP in the near distant future. But yes. Apparently there was also a suspicious package in Manchester Piccadilly tram stop this afternoon.
Oh, that's just a bundle of spoilt ballot papers.
I wonder how many of those ballot papers had Brexit Party written on them.
Probably quite a few. You know what? I had been tempted to write Brexit on my ballot, but I thought no, because then that really does make it a Brexit protest vote. So a cock seemed more appropriate.
There are quite a few ballot papers that were spoilt that had the words Brexit, Brexit Party, Nigel Farage, or any sort of other variety of pro-Brexit messaging on them.
I mean, it doesn't come as too much of a surprise. I know that we say it's locals and it ought not be affected by national politics, but clearly it is. That's just the reality of it.
It is. I mean, as I said on here a couple of days before the actual elections happen, every election in this country is treated as a rerun of the EU referendum, so I'm not surprised at the result, really.
Angel says the three indies got around 1,000 votes each. The next highest got around 300. So it was a thumping win for the
Runnymede Independents.
Yes. Fandabi Doody. Congratulations.
You know, this is probably like this particular YouTube channel and these streams that we do is probably the most coverage the Runnymede Independents get on any platform anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, bless
that could
them.
be a claim to fame. Maybe.
I mean, I'm sure Philip Hammond isn't impressed at the moment because Runnymede is his council. His seat. So, see if they got any numbers up on the council website. They had some of the seats.
I was talking to Angels and she was saying that from what she can tell, the council will likely be a Conservative hold with a significantly reduced majority.
Oh, we have the numbers from Angels' dad's seat, I should say.
Oh, please do.
The closest was so I'll do it in order. So the top independent got 1,031. The second got 1,027. The third one, which was Angels' dad, got 900. The Conservative then got, which was the closest, got 358. Then there was another Conservative got 258. And then the other Conservative got 218. And then the Labour Party got 205, 207, and 232.
Nice.
So yes.
Well done, Runnymede Independents.
Yes, and a turnout of 34%, which is
Conservatives now down 909 to 2.
Ooh, we're getting close to that magic number.
Oh, let me refresh it. Oh yeah, we're on the way.
By the way, I've got a variety of different spoilt ballots here that I'll read out what's been written on them. Person's just scribbled all over the ballot and written Brexit on it.
Are you able to screen share them?
No, I'm on my phone, so I can't screen share, I'm afraid.
No worries.
An article has been linked in the bullet chat, however, for ITV, which has it all on there, so you can screen share it if you want, but I'll read them out. Leave the EU on WTO terms. That's written all across the ballot. Somebody's written in one column, I can't vote for any party, stop Brexit, please. And then another person's written all across the ballot after putting lines through all of the parties, no representation, stop Brexit.
Wow, so we're getting it on both ends then.
Hardcore Remainers are saying that they're all a bunch of
Leavers.
traitors.
So Labour have gained Gravesham, the Conservatives have lost another 5 and are now down 997.
Well, they are. I'll just get this up for you in a second. Sky News are currently just doing a House of Commons projection.
Oh, all right then. Do you want to screen share that? And
I can try to. I am on my phone though, so
it won't work if you're on your phone.
Yeah.
Wait. Did you say Sky? Did you say Sky News?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'll have a look on their YouTube feed.
Just before you do, we're currently on with three seats short of the Conservatives losing 1,000 seats.
Mm-hmm.
3. So that's
Yes,
half
indeed.
of the amount of people who are on this stream at the moment.
So I'm just. I think there was a glitch with the House of Commons projection. Maybe they overestimated. They couldn't compute the numbers for the Conservatives or something. I don't know.
Why? What was the glitch? Have they fucked up?
They give all like the fancy graphics and stuff, and it just glitched out.
Sky News also, for some reason, is massively behind in terms of seat share. Like, they're saying that Labour have lost 117, but the Tories have only lost 901.
I'm just looking at the results in Runnymede Borough Council, just 'cause it's interesting. The Lib Dems seem to have done quite well.
Lib Dems
Also,
have done well
the
nationally.
Greens have been elected in one of the wards. So I'll wait for the actual results to come out.
The Conservatives lose Mid Devon to no overall control.
And they've held Cherwell, and they have now lost 1,004 seats.
The House of Commons seat projection is out. It would have the Conservatives on 280. It would have the Labour Party on 268. The Liberal Democrats on 28. The SNP on 53. And others on 21.
Oh, that's nicely hung. Nice.
So
Yeah.
it
Not
is
enough
hung.
to form- basically not enough for anybody to form a government.
But yes, this is what this country needs: a general election. Said nobody ever.
I mean,
apart from Jeremy
unfortunately,
Corbyn.
I mean, this is going to basically put me at odds with a lot of the pro-Labour people in the amongst the group. But at the end of the day, I've said this for a while: a general election is not going to solve anything. And this seat project, I know it's a local and national is different, but if this was to happen, we'd be even more fucked than we already are now. Because at least right now we have the ability to form a government. With this one, we wouldn't have the ability to form a government.
I'd argue the other way around, actually, because as I understand it, at present, given the defections and people quitting and that, Labour's number of MPs is in the 240s now, I think. So to go up to the 260s arguably would be an improvement for them.
Yeah, but
just to make a statement of how my political journey has over the past year has taken me, is that back last year, and as late as probably around late August to early September of 2018, the people who wrote Brexit on their ballot papers and spoiled the ballots, I would probably have been almost the same as them during back then, and now have pretty much moderated my position so much that I'm pretty much almost bang on centre.
But I was just gonna say, is the Labour Party got what 200 and in 9 years of government, right? 9 years of Conservative government, the Labour Party, if this projection is correct, right, have gained 2 seats. 2 seats in 9 years of government. Because in 2010, under Gordon Brown, they got 266. According to this projection, and it's not.
They got 258.
What you say?
The Liberal Party got 258 seats in 2010.
Okay, they've gained 10. They've gained 10 in 9 years.
And it's a different 10.
No, but I see what the overall point is, that as an opposition party trying to make its way back to government, here we are the better part of a decade later, and the projections suggest they'd be where they were when they first lost power.
Yeah,
I mean, Tories lost 13 seats in the past 10 years.
Yeah, well, that's expected for a government. A government of 9 years of power should be losing seats, should be losing election seats. It should be losing by-election seats. The Labour Party, in 9 years of being in opposition, you've had Brexit, you've had 2 Conservative leaders. I've gained, according to this projection, I'm not saying it's 100% accurate, I've gained 10 seats. Not exactly a ringing endorsement of the Labour Party and the current leadership.
By the way, I just want to say that we finally reached the magical 4-digit number. 1,014 losses for the Conservatives.
1,021. Just a new council just came in there.
All right. If we're on about updates, UUP have overtaken Alliance.
Oh boy.
Wait, so where are we at now? Give me like a ranking of the parties in Northern Ireland.
UUP are on 30, UUP are on 19, Alliance are on 17, Sinn Féin on 15, SDLP on 12, others on 8, Greens on 2, and TUV on 2.
Bloody hell! We've got a thriving bit of diversity in the Northern Irish politics system all of a sudden.
Welcome to STV.
I'm going to say the same will be the case when Scotland comes up for local elections again in 2022.
What about the SNP?
Well, the SNP are currently doing quite well in Scotland, unfortunately.
Oh no, I was just trying to do a little riff on what election maps has had to deal with.
He has had a personal grudge with the Scottish Nationalist over the past couple of days, the past week.
Because he'd be posting projections for these local elections, and then he'd get people commenting on them and going, you're supposed to be election maps UK, what about Scotland? And he'd go, there are no elections in Scotland.
Yes. 41 councils the Conservatives have lost. 28 to no overall control, 9 to the Lib Dems, 2 to the Labour Party, and 1 to an independent party.
The one that the Labour gained from the Conservatives was High Peak, and some other one. I'm waiting for that one to come out.
But yeah, Sky News still has the Conservatives not on 1,000 seats yet. They are
they
quite
seem
slow.
they seem to be very much behind the BBC, which is unusual for Sky, because when it was the national election, Sky were ahead of the BBC.
Yeah. Well, you know what this suggests then? But perhaps our 2 news broadcasters are actually a little bit more competitive on the election front than we'd assumed. Because before we were always saying, oh, bloody Sky's way better than the BBC, but it seems to be on a bit of an election-by-election basis.
Or they're both shit.
Oh, I mean, they are both shit, but that's beside the point. Everyone should be coming to Captain Switzerland, where we have cardboard swingometers and all sorts.
Also, I noticed that
the only thing that isn't biased on the BBC is the weather.
I also noticed that, well, actually, that's not true. That the BBC weather did actually get embroiled in a row over covering up Cornwall. Also, I noticed that a residents' association has gained a council. I'm just trying to find which one it is.
The Lib Dems have gained 11 councils, 9 of them from Conservatives, 2 from no overall control. Yeah, it appears that the Lib Dem gains have largely been at the expense of the Conservatives.
Not good.
But yeah, mean, this is just sort of further proof that the people who were against an election happening have kind of been vindicated, because if that projection was correct, and I don't think it will be, because again, local is different from national, etc. But if that was to be the result, we'd be in an even worse position than we are now, because nobody could form a government out of that. If it was a Labour SNP coalition, it would be one seat behind an effective majority.
Here's a question, because I think that during the time that Labour was perceivably doing far better than the Tories, we'd criticise the Tories for saying, "Oh, the only reason you don't want a general election is because you know you'll lose all your seats." Would it not then be, well, not all the seats, but would it not then be fair to reverse that criticism now onto Labour if they were to not push for a GE as much as before because they suspect that they do worse? Is that not the same basic level of self-interest?
Well, my position on it generally is for a while now, I've held the belief that a general election, when it comes to Brexit and Brexit solely, will not improve the situation at all. If anything, it will make it worse.
See, I guess it depends. I guess it depends on where you're sitting, because I think interestingly enough, now it's perhaps kind of flipped. That previously the Labour folk really wanted a GE, and the Tories, who were seen as being the Brexiters, obviously didn't want one. But now I suspect that there's actually quite a few, maybe some leavers at the very least, who want another GE, just because as they see it, Parliament at large, they'd have an opportunity to elect more leavers to Parliament, maybe. From how they see it.
I should say Labour is still going for general election. Diane Abbott said as much.
Well,
He said that Labour was still what was the word she used? Still prepared for a general election. Let's go.
Yeah, Corbyn said something similar as well. We are absolutely ready for a general election.
They've been absolutely ready for a general election for about a year and a half now.
Yeah, they've been absolutely ready for a general election probably since the 9th of June 2017.
And you know what? I'm not disputing that they aren't ready for one. I reckon they've got policies, they've got campaigning strategies, they've probably got like a little break glass in event of snap general election emergency kit. They've got they're sitting there waiting by the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Conservatives have lost another council. Toddage.
Yes, the Conservative losses are racking up.
I don't know whether I told you about me changing my mind in terms of who I'm going to vote for in the Euro elections, Mr. Ferguson.
You did, yes. Independents have won in Toddage, by the way. Conservatives down 9, Independents up 3, UKIP down 6. Labour up 2. There's Toddage. Do you know? It's a district council.
Sorry, where are we in total number of councils? 214 out of 248, according to the Beeb.
Does that count the 11 in Northern? No, I won't count the 11 in Northern Ireland.
No, these ones are the England local election results. Northern Ireland local election results, they're quite behind, it appears. It seems like we've had a lot more results in from other sources than what they're offering us here on this scoreboard.
Mm-hmm.
So this one isn't particularly reputable for NI at the moment, but the England one seems to be more or less on the ball.
Shows that the Tories are down 37 councils. Mostly to no overall control, actually.
So wow, and now they're minus 1,045. So earlier we were predicting how high could these losses go, and I think I'd said 1,200. I think we're perfectly within the scope for that now.
I said that the Conservatives losing 1,000 seats was generous. I realised at some point today that losing 1,000 seats was generous for the Tories. Now I'm thinking the worst case scenario would be the Conservatives losing maybe 1,300 seats. 14, because there's still quite a few councils to declare. A lot of them. Oh, by the way, Runnymede been held by the Tories, but I definitely see them losing badly. in the remaining council seats.
Yeah, I think the trend we've seen thus far is just going to continue on.
Also, with Runnymede, the Conservatives have held it down 8, Independent 9 up 3, Liberal Democrat 3 up 3, Labour 1 up 1, Greens 1 up 1. Interesting.
Is that the total result for Runnymede now? Then?
Yeah, Runnymede is now declared fully. So the Conservatives have lost 8 seats. They have a majority of 11, but they used to have a majority of something more substantial. I can't be honest. I calculating it. But,
more. They used to have a more majority, and now they got a less majority.
They used to have a bigger majority, and they have a reasonably significant reduction in the majority. Also, I see that the Conservatives are now down 1,050, and the Liberal Democrats are now up 576 with 1,033. What is this?
Oh, just a little news from north of the border. At the northeast Dundee by-election results, at SNP 47% minus 7%. At Labour 38% plus 11%. Conservatives 8% minus 1%. ACC, don't know what that is, 3% plus 3%. Greens 2% plus 1%, and CZF 1% up 1%. ACC Anti-Cuts Coalition, CZF Citizens First, SNP gain from Labour, multi-member ward.
Wait, did you say SNP gain from Labour?
Yeah, it's because it's a multi-member ward, meaning that the SNP gain overall control of Dundee Council.
What?
It says that the SNP has gained overall control of Dundee Council. I'll screen share the election maps. Tweet.
Please,
this is basically what it says here. So it gives you a chance to peruse. There.
Right. Yeah, I'll get that now.
Yeah, so that's the. So it appears that that Scotland has a council under majority control.
Yes, which is always impressive. Yes, what happened last time is there are 29 seats in Dundee Council, 15 needed for a majority. The SNP won 14 in the last election, down 2. So if they've gained 1, then that means they now hold a majority, and it means that yes, they have regained the majority in Dundee. And if that means Labour have lost 1, it means that the majority over Labour is now sits at 6 seats.
People in the side chat are bigging up Switzerland and its democracy, but this is also being fueled by that bot account that we'd identified earlier.
So the Liberal Democrats started out with 658 seats in this election. They now have more than 1,000. Interesting. Conservatives started out with 5,521. So are we then expecting them not to be able to gain more than 4,000?
So sorry, say that again.
I was saying the Conservatives went into this election with 5,521 seats, and it's expected that they will not get more than 4,000 seats. Not much more than 4,000 seats.
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
Yes, they have lost 36 councils. 37 councils.
Take a look at this. This is a nice sort of round number to judge it off. So at this phase of the results the Conservatives now have 3,000 councillors, but of all the contested areas that have given results, that means a net loss in 1,059 councillors.
Come on, let it get to 1066.
Is that what we're going to do now? We're just going to wait for all these little numbers that we can associate with something else, and take 1069.
Yeah. Such as I always have a little bit of a laugh and giggle whenever I see numbers.
The Green Party in England and Wales, before this election, held 178 seats, right?
What in total?
In total, across the 19,000 local government seats in England and Wales, the Greens held 178, which means that they have increased their representation in local government in England and Wales by 2/3, or nearly 2/3, by at least. Oh wait, no.
Wait, no. If you were saying that in total they had what 178?
Yeah, I realised that I said that wrong.
Well, according to
essentially just under, I think it would be just under double.
Well, yeah, because I was going to say, according to what we've got here, Green Councillors 201, and that's up 151. So that says that they had 50 already of the places we've had. So they've quadrupled it.
Quadrupled the number of seats that they had in the seats that are being contested, and their overall representation in English local government has doubled.
But in a nutshell, that is why we have them on the Swissometer where they are. We see that the Greens are just along next to the Liberal Democrats here, and arguably in terms of proportions, they've done even better. A good day for the Lib Dems.
Is the pound for UKIP backwards?
It might be. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. I was going to try and make it look a bit like a pound sign and a bit like a euro. I was trying to just mix it up a little bit for fun. I was doing the theme of all of my paintings are going to be shit, so I might as well do some of them deliberately shit.
It adds a nice little bit of character to it.
Oh, jolly good.
Also, just to say, the Conservatives have won East Suffolk and held Surrey Heath. There was a rumour earlier that they would lose Surrey Heath. Michael Gove's home constituency.
What I'm going to do, guys, is what time is it at the moment? Is it just after 5?
Yep.
Yeah, coming up to 10 past.
I'm probably going to look to finish the stream about 5:30 or 6, just so I can go do a few other things with my day, because I'm back in work for another 4 days in a row after this.
Just to say, in Surrey Heath, Michael Gove's back garden, the Conservatives have held it, but with a reduced majority of 14. So they hold it with a majority of 1.
Wow.
So yeah, they've held it. They've held it with 1, and they lost 14 seats. The Lib Dems gained 9. The Independents gained 3. Greens gained 2. Labour have held their 1 seat.
I have to say that one of the results that I am that I am pleasantly surprised by is the result for Pendle, because there was a rumour that happened yesterday that UKIP were going to do very, very well in Pendle. However, that appears to have come to nothing, because all that's happened is Labour have lost 1 seat and the Lib Dems have gained 1 seat. So I'm pleasantly surprised there about the result.
Well, one thing I was really amused by last night was the alleged Sargon effect in Swindon, where
the reverse Midas.
That's a load of bollocks. I mean, put it this way, right? This kind of highlights why first past the post isn't exactly the greatest electoral system. The the Labour and Tory party had the exact same vote share, but Labour lost seats.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, because it's spread around, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't really make that much sense, but there you go.
So what you're saying is I'm not allowed to have a little bit of fun at the idea that Sargon of Akkad drove all the Kipper voters away.
No, you can have fun at it. I'm just saying that Sargon's effect in Swindon was about the same as some drunkard preacher that thinks he's Jesus ranting about the end times.
That sounds like something I'd hear from a mainstream media smear merchant, to be honest with you, Tom.
Could I just say that I just realised UKIP have lost a higher proportion of their seats, but fewer seats than Labour.
Yes.
UKIP lost 99, Labour have lost 110.
Yes, and also they've gained, I think, UKIP gained, I think, 3 in Sunderland, and to think they might gained 1 in Hartlepool as well.
Also, just to say that the Liberal Party have gained 1.
Yeah. The Liberal Party have gained. I think they've. Is it just the 1, or was it like 3? Oh, hang on a minute. It's on here. Oh no, it's just the 1. Never mind. They've got 7 in total now, but they've gained 1. I think last night they had 3 in total. And what are the Liberal Party's politics? I mean, I know the clue arguably should be in the name.
They are
but...
what happened was in 19. They opposed the merger of the Social Democratic Party and the Liberal Democrats.
They're a bit like the SDP, that they're the holdout Liberals as opposed to the holdout Social Democrats. Then
yes,
yeah.
Their party description is literally the Liberal Party, real Liberals, not the Lib Dems. I should say not the Lib Dems, as in brackets, and fighting for liberalism. Policies. They're all split into different policy areas. Can I just say that they are a little shit looking. They're not as swish as Lib Dems.
Yes, I've actually met a member of the Liberal Party, and their membership card is essentially a piece of paper laminated.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a school hall pass.
Hey, that's what the membership cards for my party are going to look like if I set one up.
You need to employ election maps in the graphics department.
Oh, absolutely. Right, I've refreshed the old page again. It's ticking on up there.
Oh, by the way, apparently SNP have gained control of Dundee from no overall control.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I get the feeling that this is going to be a trend for local elections for a while to come, because Labour haven't done well substantially in a local election since 2014. So I get the feeling that this is going to become a trend for Labour in the locals.
Yeah, I dare say. I mean, arguably, you could say it's been a trend for a few years, but we're only just noticing it now that we finally had successive results showing similar things.
Because last time around, Labour massively overhyped their expectations. As a result, they had a disappointing result. They were saying things like, they were going to get Wandsworth and Westminster, failed to gain both of them, and lost ground in New Eton and other places like that. And then so they reduced their expectations for this year, and in spite of reduced expectations, they've suffered net losses when everyone predicted they would have net gains. So I get the feeling that this is going to be a trend for Labour in local elections where they just do poorly every time.
I should say that they've done quite well in Canterbury. The Conservatives have still held the council, but Tories down 8, Labour up 7, Liberal Democrats up 3, UKIP down 2. It's all right, I suppose.
All I can say is I'm glad that we didn't have Scotland have elections this year, because it would have been even worse for us.
What? Because the Tories would have gotten fucked, the Liberal Democrats would have done quite well, Independents would have surged, the Greens would have done well, Labour would have gotten less fucked than the Tories, and the SNP would have done all right.
I reckon actually that the Labour Party would have done worse than the Tories in Scotland.
Well, like what, like they did last year or 2
Yeah.
years ago.
Because if you look at Labour's vote share in Scotland, it's been going down and down and down. Same with the Tory vote share, but the Tories are still ahead of Labour.
Guys, I'm going to read a few comments out from the side chat because I know I've been ignoring these guys for a little while, and then I'll probably start wrapping things up in a bit. What have we got here then? So, Subterranean Music says Sky is saying Labour stroke SNP would form a government if this translated to a GE. I think we'd looked at that projection a short while ago, hadn't we?
Yeah, we did.
What was it that was going to be put on? Labour on 260 odd, SNP on... What was the SNP on?
53.
Yeah, so slimly. Labour plus SNP. You'd probably have to throw some Lib Dems in there for security.
Basically, if you got the SNP and Labour and had them form a government, it would be 1 seat short of an effective majority.
Chris Coburn Green says Captain Swiss local paper reporting bomb disposal call to Newcastle under Lyme College. That's my neck of the woods. Yeah, that's quite close to me actually. All right, I'll keep an eye on that in terms of local news then to see what comes of it. Interesting. Apollo CD says Gavin Williamson is now on a warpath, planning to give Geoffrey Howe-style resignation speech in the Commons attacking May. This could be a real downfall similar to that of Thatcher's.
Geoffrey Howe's speech did essentially spell the downfall of Thatcher.
Yeah?
Slammed her in the House of Commons.
I mean, Gavin Williamson is the babyface killer. I could see him do it. I could see him.
And just to...
is that Gavin Williamson is effectively a criminal, if we're honest. I mean...
Is he?
Allegedly.
I think allegedly is the word you're looking for as opposed to effectively.
Allegedly is the more accurate one, but yeah, if he did break the Official Secrets Act, then yeah, he broke the law and could serve 2 years in prison.
What if he does a military coup? What if all this time he's been aligning himself with the army and Tommy Robinson, and together, Gavin Williamson, Tommy Robinson launch a successful military coup against the government?
And you know who will be their hatchet man? Brexit hard man, Steve Baker. And also, just to also have a note is that the independent councillors have gained a council, and they have currently 874 councillors, up 507. So
It's been a good night for the independents.
Yeah.
By the way, this isn't related to elections in any way, shape, or form, but a study was conducted on HIV, and apparently it's a major HIV breakthrough, and it's conducted, and it says that one person who's HIV positive but taking antiretroviral drugs isn't passing on the disease to other people by taking those drugs.
Basically, what it is the drugs neutralize the sexual transmission of the disease. So the idea is, if you have HIV, take this drug to treat the HIV, you will no longer be able to you will no longer be contagious. You will no longer be able to transmit the disease sexually to your whomever you happen to fuck. So basically, it means that if you get HIV, it's not the end of the world. You can still have as much unprotected sex as you want, as long as you're being treated for it. Which is good news for me.
Yeah, it's good news, but HIV is still a nasty disease.
Yes.
When you said that's good news for you, Callum, you weren't implying because you have HIV.
No, I was implying something else. I don't have HIV.
That you fuck a lot of people with HIV.
No. Well, not as far as I know.
Right, I'm just waiting for these Tory results to tick over here, because we're very nearly on 1,100.
Well, Tories have lost 1,099.
Oh, we're getting close to that 100 prediction that I made. 1,100.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to leapfrog it. We may even end up with more losses than 1,200, as I recently said.
Also, South Derbyshire is just declared.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, 1,100. There we are.
We've reached it.
And I think on that's as good as time as any for me to look to finish things, guys. Just because, as I say, I feel like I've spent too much time watching local election results and doing a stream in the past day or so.
You have.
Oh yes.
I'll tell you what. Apart from the national news, we have probably focused on these election results more than anybody else in the country.
Yeah.
Do you know?
That's what we do.
All I can say is bring on the Euros.
Oh, bring on the fucking Euros! Yes.
After today's result, I am absolutely dreading the Euros. That prediction that I made of Labour winning, don't think it's going to happen.
Brexit surge.
All I can say is that my prediction for the Euros now is that Brexit Party plus UKIP will probably get 35-40% of the vote. And I suspect that an overwhelmingly positive result for the Brexit Party in the Euro elections. I can see the Brexit Party getting around 20% in the opinion polls and possibly coming within 2 to 3 points of overtaking the Tories by the end of this year.
Can I just say that both Labour and the United Kingdom Independence Party have lost the same number of seats, 102.
Bubblevis has asked Captain Swiss who of the Swiss cartel is going to do the after stream. Well, generally that falls to Angels, but obviously she's away celebrating her dad's victory at the moment, so I'm not sure if we're going to have an after stream today.
Nah, probably not. I mean, as I said before, we've covered these more than anybody else, and there isn't really much more to say that hasn't already been said.
Yeah. So I'll just leave it as saying you guys have joined me in the stream, and especially you guys in the side chat, both today and those of you who've stuck with us through yesterday as well, you goddamn troopers. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and I hope you've enjoyed what we've done as well. And I'll see you again in a few weeks where we do it all again. Oh yes.
Boy. It's going to be fun.
Oh boy, I'm looking forward to it.
Catch you later, guys.
Bye.
See you later.